What's going on, everybody?
What up?
We're back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back again.
Man, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I'm tired the day after with yesterday's stream. It was our longest stream up to this point.
It was?
Yeah, we were out there for what damn near 4 hours. It was pretty close. Probably like 10 minutes short of 4 hours, I have to guess. But yeah, it was before that. It was our Halloween thing that we did when we were watching that movie. But
well, gotta give the fans what they need.
Yeah.
These troubled times.
Yeah, if they're coming and watching us, and at least we could go push through when we get a little bit tired. Drink plenty of fucking energy drink, bro.
I just drink coffee.
Yeah, man, I have a coffee maker, and somehow it always just seems more convenient to just go buy McDonald's or some shit than to go and make my own.
It just what?
What's up?
I mean, I don't know. I drink like iced coffee basically all day.
Oh, that explains why you're so hyped up. Yeah, me, I'm like slugging most of the day.
Yeah.
It's not like when I was in law school, I basically pop Addies on the regular. So I mean that just always had me so much more productive. I never got diagnosed ADHD, but I probably should have been. But it was always a thing about me. I always I would zone out, and I would catch like the last two bits of what anybody said in class or whatever the teacher was saying, and from that I kind of extrapolated the whole point of whatever they were trying to teach us, and I guess from that I never got they never registered there was a problem. But yeah, if I could get a script now, that'd be nice.
Yeah, man. I think it's a lot easier than many people think.
That's the thing is that I'm over here in Texas, and I don't know exactly if they're.
At the end of the day, I think that they want people to have scripts for that. I think they want people.
Yeah, I mean,
to make people more productive at work.
It does. I mean, it doesn't make people productive at work. It makes people more productive at home. Like I get much more of an urgency to, clean up a little bit and do, vacuuming that I put off all the time. It just cuts all the procrastination out of my day.
Oh, did you see? Looks like Matt Karp did an interview with Crystal. We should watch that shit.
Okay. Yeah, let's check that out. Yeah, put your regular background on, bro. You had this lighting set up.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, when we started doing the streams and everything, we had really crappy setups and everything, so we just figured the easiest thing to do was use Skype green screens. But yeah, we're doing a little better now. Let's see, Crystal and Matt. That was Let's see. Do you have the video or?
Yeah, I'll send it.
All right. Yeah, just send it over when you can. Here we go.
You want it on the Skype or?
Yeah, just send it on Twitter. It's easiest. We'll have to start getting used to using our new subreddit and shit, though. I've never been much of a Reddit dude, though.
I used to be all into Reddit. I haven't been in it as much recently, but it's
yeah. I mean, with me, I did a couple of those what do you call it? Those videos, like the Bernie campaign videos when I was doing those.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did that, a bunch of people told me to go share it on Reddit, and use that. And I'm like, oh, well, I never use it, but
yeah, we need to see what's up with those Bernie subreddits, because
I mean,
some of them have rules about what you can and can't post in there.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, how much do people go through Reddit to go through like content like ours, where you're kind of semi-informative and.
I think people go for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see. But
let me see. There's Way of the r/Way of the Burn. Let's see. I mean, that's mostly, like tweets and stuff.
Yeah, which is kind of.
I feel like it would be okay. Like.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the community guidelines, right?
Yeah, let me see.
Well, let's see. What do we? Well, they're looking at that. Let me switch over to the crystal thing. Let's see. Yeah, that was pretty dope. Yeah, and if y'all didn't catch it yesterday, PJ was able to jump on with us.
Yeah,
that was pretty dope. He was just commenting up in the chat, and I was able to patch him in pretty easily. So, who knows? If we're talking to people out there, and you want to go in and share something with us, I could probably do the same thing. If y'all are up in the chat and want to come up and join us on the stream.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see what Crystal had to say.
So Joe Biden won more votes in the 2020 presidential election than any other presidential candidate in history. And while the Democratic coalition grew in number this recent election, it changed somewhat in demographics, losing a percentage of Latinos in Florida and South Texas in particular, while gaining more white, college-educated voters in the suburbs. Here with us now to discuss the evolving Democratic coalition and what it might mean for the party's future is Matt Karp, contributing editor at Jacobin and great friend of the show. Great to see you, Matt.
Happy to be here.
All right, so you warned me that you came prepared with a lot of data. So what have you got for me on the data front?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at turnout and Biden's the shape of the Biden coalition, as opposed to even the Hillary Clinton coalition, which, as we know and we've talked about on this show, and I've written over and over again, it's sort of the same old story. Turnout in working class areas largely flat for the Democrats, if not bending toward Trump in white working class areas. Largely flat in
there's the racist dog
class,
whistle.
Neighborhoods,
what?
Black
there's
and Latino working class neighborhoods. That was the story from Obama to Hillary, and it looks like that's the story now. Again, just from my preliminary reconnaissance on this stuff. So looking at just the three big swing states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, right? Some of the stories already visible at the county level, where in Milwaukee City. White minority county, obviously, Biden's vote bumped up about 3%. If you look at Waukesha County, one of the wealthier collar counties of Milwaukee, he gets a 31% bump in this sort of 90% white, very well-educated, relatively well-educated place. Same thing, Michigan, Detroit City, turnout. Actually, Biden got less votes in Detroit City than Hillary Clinton did. Part of that is the story is population decline. He improved in Wayne County because he did well in suburban, areas like Livonia and Dearborn, et cetera. And in Oakland County, again, kind of one of the wealthiest of Detroit's suburban counties, he bumped up 27%. Bloomfield Township, places like that, Birmingham, these extremely wealthy sort of six-figure suburbs of Detroit, Biden improving on Hillary's vote by 25-30%.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, that was part of Biden's strategy, though, right? Was trying to bring out more of those white suburbanites, the college-educated, that kind of demographic.
I think he was going to get most of them anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was.
I think the Democrat would have gotten
that was the coalition that Hillary brought out. Anyway, but Do you think that
I don't think
increase
that had anything to do with Biden, though.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that was part of some kind of effort that the campaign did, or was that more of just a sense of that whole urgency to get Trump out of there?
No, I mean that was specifically their like goal was to appeal to these people who a generation ago would have been Republican voters, right? Like that's who they're going after is well-off suburban people who used to vote Republican, typically like demographically, and they thought that they could get them without losing any of their working class base, right? Like union members and black and brown communities,
right?
But like I kind of thought that was probably not that I thought it was a good strategy. I think the best strategy is the multiracial working class coalition, right? I think that's what you want.
I mean, that's what Obama put together too, and he won comfortably.
Yeah, this was not the Obama coalition.
No, but I guess what the point is I mean, what did the Biden campaign efforts actually get them? That they wouldn't have gotten if not for putting in so much work or whatever the consultants did and all that other kind of shit.
No, I don't think it got them anything. I think Trump did it himself. Like I think Trump being so terrible was enough to sway these people who. It's like I thought they wouldn't. Like I thought they were going to vote for Biden or for the Democrat anyway.
Yeah.
But I am kind of surprised that, like I thought. It would turn off the working class base, right? It would make them think like, fuck these guys, I'm not going to vote, I'm not going to bother voting. Like we saw in Milwaukee last time, like that famous article, Malika Jabali. But I'm surprised that that there was such a chunk of them that, bought into the GOP's rhetoric. I don't know what kind of messaging they were doing, if not, I don't know what kind of affirmative messaging the GOP was doing that wasn't, fear-mongering about the left. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what their whole deal was, socialism and then, the Dems right there after play right into that shit and saying that's terrible. Like the worst thing that they could have done, and they attacked us as socialists and these lefties in our party are making it more difficult to say that we're not socialists. I mean,
well, they get the accusations from the Abigail Spanbergers is nonsensical. It makes zero sense,
Yeah, I mean they're turning and punching left when anybody that was gonna get fear-mongered out of voting for the Democrats about socialism was gonna do that anyway.
Like I don't know how much that actually worked. The socialism fear-mongering stuff worked because I don't think the people who are turned off by socialism, people who are from the Cold War era, like older people.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's what I would think it would work on. Is probably like older boomers that still remember the whole Red Scare.
Yeah. So I think people who might have gone for the Democrat maybe didn't because of that. I mean, like I said, I don't think it was that effective, but I think they bought the sort of rhetoric about the GOP being a working class party. I think that is probably more.
We'll get into it later, but I saw Laura Ingraham made a fucking shot at the working class, and the GOP is actually the party of the working class. But we'll get to it. Let's go ahead.
That's what they've been trying to say, and it's like.
But at the same time, they'll shit on people for their jobs and but they'll act as elitist snobs too. Is the point? These fucking
that's
talking
the thing
heads on the GOP side do it just as much.
I thought the Democrats would turn off voters and have more non-voters. I didn't think they would turn off voters enough that they would vote for the Republican.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's get back to this thing. Let's see.
And that's already Hillary having improved significantly on Obama. So it's the same trajectory. And then you come to Georgia. There's been we've had a lot of talk about the heroic efforts on the part of Stacey Abrams and others to sort of boost especially black turnout in Georgia. And the numbers, we still need more numbers on this. And there's no question that that's part of the story. Unlike in Milwaukee and in Detroit, looking at the precincts, you can't see this at the county level. So I had to dig into the precincts. looking at Atlanta, central and southeast Atlanta, there are, Biden did make gains 5, 6, sometimes up to 10% in some precincts in some of these, very black working class areas of Atlanta. So that's some of the story. Some of that is also about population growth. And you really do see the effort to register voters popping up in the voting rolls there, although the actual vote numbers are sometimes not as dramatic. And then but when you look at Fulton County more broadly, you look at, say, Sandy Springs and some of the wealthier, whiter precincts in Sandy Springs, you're seeing 40% shifts to Biden. Massive shifts. And, we need more. This is all still first round and a little bit suggestive rather than definitive. But I think what I've looked at, Nate Cohn was talking about this earlier. I think the story is another, when we drill down, it's going to be another suburban story. Of course, black voters were fundamental to defeating Donald Trump. There's no getting around that. That's obvious and a baseline. But if you're looking at the turnout differential and the shape of the coalition and how, which constituencies are moving enthusiastically toward Joe Biden, it's clear that it's in places like Waukesha County, Oakland County, Michigan, and Sandy Springs, Georgia. You see that in non-swing districts also. You saw Loudoun County outside D.C. put up 37% more for Biden than for Hillary. You saw exurban counties like Stafford County in Virginia also flip. A very sturdy red county for John McCain, for Mitt Romney, and for Donald Trump the first time. That one flipped with a 44% boost for Joe Biden. These are educated, affluent, large, not exclusively, but predominantly comfortable suburban places that it really brought the heat for Joe.
I think what he's saying about Atlanta is, it sounds like it's true, right? Like, he had that definitive article about the primary in a couple issues of Jacobin ago, which I think everybody should read. It really informed a lot of my analysis on how we're gonna overthrow this fucking corrupt oligarchy. But the thing about Sandy Springs is, I think that's, it's I think it was a generation ago, it was an extremely white suburban area. It's not, I think it's technically in the city of Atlanta, but I think there's a lot of, it's a multiracial suburb more so than some of these other suburban areas, right? It's got a lot of, middle class, black and brown families, more so than a lot of other these Joe Biden areas. So I think that's part of the story. It's middle class black families as opposed to just all white families.
All right, let's go.
Biden this time around.
Yeah, wow, that is actually really fascinating. Well, for people who say, well, it was a winning coalition, so who cares? Why does this matter?
Crystal looks tired.
Yeah, I think I've written about this. I think for some elements of the Democratic leadership, it simply doesn't matter. It's exactly what they want. They want a kind of 51, 52% coalition, increasingly driven by, reliable, enthusiastic, affluent voters who are less, sort of personally invested in significant economic redistribution, but maintain an increasingly sharp partisan worldview and sort of opposition toward Republican irresponsibility,
sickos,
Republican
who wants that kind of coalition?
Norm breaking, as you've talked about. I think
kind of
voters
in
these areas
means
are
there's no
activated
accountability
by that stuff.
is what it means.
And to the worldview of Nancy Pelosi, having a coalition that's based in, say, Darien, Connecticut, one of the richest towns in America, which bumped 33% for Biden, as opposed to Hartford, Connecticut, where turnout for Biden fell again, partly because of population decline, but still, you see a coalition that, wants something like a return to the status quo anti-Trump. And I think that works for this leadership. It's a problem for, I guess, us. It's a problem for the left. It's a problem for people who want to build a populist force in the Democratic Party. But it's not really a problem for the party of Pelosi and Schumer.
Yeah, they don't want anybody that's going to hold them accountable.
And others on the sort of populist right are very excited about what this could portend for the Republican Party future. What are the barriers within that party, though, to having a truly working class-centric party?
Yeah, I think that narrative is a little bit overstated too, just from a numbers perspective. For one, if you look at the Latino voters who broke for Trump, I mean, I was just looking at the exit polls, and there are reasons to be cautious about the exit polls this time around. People have raised some questions about them as they did last time. But still, if you break down the Latino vote by income, you can see it is actually strongly it strongly breaks down by class, or at least by income, where working class Latino voters making, say, under $100,000 a year overwhelmingly supported the Democrats and Joe Biden. And it was really the wealthier Latino voters, according to the exit polls, that broke for Trump. Now, obviously, that explains, I think, Florida to some extent. I don't think that explains what happened in the border counties of Texas. So we still need more answers
because
there.
Bernie got those counties.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that is broadly the story with Latino voters nationally. And I think there are limits to. I mean, I think what we have is a working class that's divided by between these two parties. You have an element of Latino workers, but predominantly, Trump won what? 67% of white voters without a college degree, and you have that coalition, the Republican Party, and then you have black workers and most Latino workers, and an element of sort of a rump element of white workers in the Democratic Party. These parties are divided. I don't think the prospects for a Republican working class party are particularly great, even with this suburban shift, given where the Republicans, the overwhelming majority of the Republicans stand on any economic issue. And the party's attitude towards things like labor and state intervention in regard to healthcare. It's hard to see what Republicans could offer workers on the basis of economics. So you may have a further deepening of a kind of a culturalist workers' party, sort of a culturalist, predominantly white workers' party on the Republican side. But I'm not sure that offers any opening for actual populist policy. I'd be skeptical, if not cynical about that.
Yeah, well, and I mean that's
like all of this just adds up to more alienation of the working class.
Yeah,
you know that?
It's all bad news. It's like they're deliberately trying to provoke the working class into some sort of
third party.
Well,
I mean,
no, it's just
there's a most likely trajectory.
It's what?
It's fucking dystopian, though. It's like,
how do you?
They're trying to create this permanent underclass.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there's that, but I mean, look what they said. The type of voters that they want are just sycophants. That they just want somebody that's going to be, all right, I'm blue no matter who, Democrat, and I just hate the Republicans no matter what their differences are on this or that. I'm not even going to pay attention to that. I'm just going to turn out and vote Democrat because I hate a Republican. That creates a system of no accountability to the voter. That's all it does. That's exactly what a message right. It's no service to the voter, and that's exactly what a message like vote blue no matter who does. It creates a whole swath of voters that are just Democrats for the sake of being Democrats rather than what they're supposed to do for you. But
no kind of no representation of the voters whatsoever. And that's how they want it. They want it for people who are just going to tune in to, cable news and see what horrible thing the Republicans have done. So vote for us because we're not them. And the Republicans will do the same thing. And I think that's a recipe for disaster for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's how that our generation and younger than us, we don't watch MSNBC. We don't watch this shit.
And we don't
feel
a loyalty to their fucking parties either.
Exactly. So what's going to happen in 10 or 20 years when there's when there's less of these boomers around who are just purely partisan? That's not any kind of recipe for a good long-term coalition. And maybe they'll do some shit they're going to try this. We can talk about the college debt forgiveness next, but that's the kind of policies they might put forward, is something that's not a working class policy, but for the downwardly mobile, millennials, right?
Right. But let's see. Let's go back to this deal. No,
I mean, it's good that working class people aren't voting for Republicans, though.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
As we've seen throughout American history, that workers remain divided, largely along racial lines. and that essentially elite interests dominate in both of the major parties.
Yeah, exactly. And we should remember, I mean, if Sagar were here, I would say to him, and the thing that's activating white workers for Trump, it may be to some extent a kind of implicit or explicit distaste for the Democratic Party and its kind of and its sort of aroma of elitism, but it's not based. It's fundamentally culturalist. It's a kind of culture war on the right.
Yeah.
And it's not grounded
Obviously.
in any sort of promise of economic redistribution. So I don't know why anyone who really considers themselves an economic populist would be excited about the kind of deepening divisions within the working class. That's basically our nightmare.
Yeah. Well, I guess one question is, if you have two major political parties, neither of whom is really particularly serious about redistributive economic policies, although the Democratic Party is better than the Republican Party on those issues, and you essentially have what is a culturalist fight. I think there is, like, in the modern era, this real, what did you say, aroma of elitism from the Democratic Party. There's a lot of, like, sanctimonious sort of, like, preening and, like, holier than thou attitude that, frankly,
yeah, I would have said stench.
used to be more associated with the right, where they're, like, super judgy about what you're doing in your private life. Now a lot of that hangs over the Democratic Party. Is that enough to turn off not just the white working class, which has already happened, but is it enough to also turn off the black and brown working class if we're basically looking at a culture war future?
God, I'm just staring into the depths of dystopia. It's difficult. I don't know. I mean, I don't think the numbers really bear that out right now. I mean, you do see. I mean, I think we should treat this sort of triumphalist claims about Joe Biden bringing back all these sort of black working class Obama voters with a lot of skepticism. The numbers are not bearing that out right now from what I'm looking at. But at the same time, we're still talking about communities that are voting 95% in say central Milwaukee or Detroit for the Democrat. So if you're talking about African American voters, there's really not a lot for Republicans to crow about there. We're looking at basically the status quo in terms of the partisan divide on that front. And yeah, I mean there may be opportunities for for some kind of Latino voter realignment, but I'm pretty skeptical on that front too. Ultimately,
it's just creating a class system for voting.
You just depressed me here. This is just bringing me down.
Well, your point about, I hadn't heard anyone make that point about the class divide among Latinos, which I think is a really interesting future aspect to explore, which we will certainly continue to do. Matt, always great to have you. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Crystal.
Yeah, I mean, it's creating like because what it appears to me is it's like a class system for voting, because I think what's going to happen with a lot of working class people are just not going to see a point in it.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely it. Like, especially without the clear and present threat of the Trump, right? Like, it's going to be hard to motivate anybody to go like vote against some, like if it is Trump again in 2024, that'll be one thing. Like I said, I think they want it to be. Like, the fucking Nancy Pelosi would be stoked, right? If it was going to be another 4 years of fear mongering about Trump. But like, I think with him, it's like you can point to things that he did that are, like bad for people of color, right? Like, you can say that he was, like the Muslim ban and all the tough on immigrants and all that. Like, those are, and then the way he responded to the protest, like, those are things that he's actively doing that could motivate somebody to vote against him. But it's going to be hard to see how fear-mongering about some theoretical Republican presidency would be enough to motivate anybody to come out and vote. So, and then if the Republicans kind of keep some of these gains they've made, just not necessarily across like racial lines, but with their turnout this time, like all the people who came out to vote who didn't vote, who usually don't vote, that's going to be hard to beat. Like, you got to think that they would probably keep a lot of those voters without, if they're trying to win back the White House, whereas I don't see how you're not going to get as many people on board to vote for the Democrat just because they're not loyal to the party. They're voting against Trump, So, yeah, man, it's doesn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't.
But do you think that like if they're cultural voters, right? They're voting not because of any economic interest, right? Isn't that? I mean, seemingly.
How many Republicans out there really vote? Like working class Republicans vote based on.
No, owning the libs.
No. But I'm talking about like based on their belief of trickle down economics is the best way to help the working class.
No, I think they vote based on cultural issues. They vote based on owning the libs, and they vote, because they're racist or they're have some sort of animosity towards like the other. I think.
Well, this is this kind
and
of.
And they hate the Democrats. Yeah. I think mostly they hate the Democrats.
Well, it's right? It's what they were talking about with that whole elitist attitude, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that plays a giant part in it. But this was kind of like what what happened up on Twitter earlier with that Michael Tracy, and we were trying to predict what's gonna go forward. you had a prediction up here for the future of the party. Let's see.
Obama was on 60 Minutes. Did you see that?
No, I didn't catch that one. But all right, so this is your prediction, Matt. I'm going to talk about this. Let's see. 2024, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be beating out Trump in the GOP primary versus Kamala after another progressive challenger is marginalized by mainstream media and defeated in the primary. So Trump is going to have loser energy by then, while Q and miscellaneous conspiracy cycles are going to grow in power. Not sure who wins it. It all depends on if the Dems do anything good in the next 4 years. So I mean, from that, are you thinking that that the Republicans are gonna do the draw of voting for a Republican where it's to own the libs and the Democrats are shit is gonna work a lot better than the Democratic strategy of basically doing the inverse of that?
I don't know. Like I just think so much depends on what the Democrats do these next 4 years. But at this point, at this moment, it's hard to see how they're able to gin up enough fear about any kind of, she's going to be able to draw Republicans from across their spectrum. Like she's going to be able to draw the gun psychos, the pro-life psychos, also the rich people because she's rich as shit. Like that's the thing with her. I think often goes.
Well, that's the grift. That was the grift with the Tea Party too. It's a bunch of billionaires talking about tax enough already, as if taxes are the main working class issue. They turn that, and that's what they turn it into. That's what they turn taxes into. Is this knee on the back of the middle class?
They have people thinking that tax is bad. Like I said, in Illinois, the fair tax, which only affected the top 3% of wage earners, they had people voting against that, scared enough to vote against that because they're, but just completely terrified of any kind of tax whatsoever, right? Not just the concept of tax they don't like. And it's just the misinformation they've been taught their whole lives that, taxing is bad and like,
I mean what it seems like is they tell you that taxes are what's holding you back from upward mobility. That's what they try to pass you off as. They put this line into you about taxation is theft, and this theft is what's holding you back in your life.
Yeah,
and it's not really. I mean, it's not the case at all. First and foremost, it's not the case at all. What the problem is what they're doing with the tax money. What are the policies that are in place behind those taxes? When you send out money to the government, you don't see any kind of tangible return from any of your money. I mean, if you had social programs that you're getting and you can see are materially helping you, then you're like, okay, I get it. All right, this is why I pay taxes. I go to the doctor for free.
Yeah, That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
It needs to be like the Democrats have been relying for so long on this cultural division
Mhm.
and being able to, fearmonger about the right. I think they're reaching a point now where they kind of do have to do something decent for people. Like they have to not serve their donors 100% just for a little bit. Like they have to do something to reach out there because these people will vote against them if it's all the same and it's just you're just picking your set of ruling class cultural, signifiers or whatever.
Right.
There's not going to be a whole lot like as these older voters who have an allegiance to the party, as they kind of like leave the electorate, you're not going to be getting new voters in. You have to actually pick an agenda that is popular that people will go with and support you for that reason. You can't, the fear mongering isn't going to work, and I don't know what else they're going to do to kind of motivate a new generation of voters to just blindly, ally themselves, especially with with the material conditions continuing to deteriorate, right? Like,
Right. I mean, especially, and then what's a post-COVID economy look like anyway? I mean, we haven't even gotten to the point where we can even speculate as to what that even, because they rebuilt everything on gig workers last time, and then that's the problem this time, right? Is the gig workers are out of work because COVID shut everything down.
Yeah, and there's not going to be like it. It's hard to see how they're going to recover from that without things getting worse, right? Like they're going to have to actively go out of their way to try to have a more like fairer economy, right? Where it's like you can't. They might be able to rebuild parts of the economy with gig work, like whatever they're trying to do. They're going to try to do that Prop 22 across the country. But
Yeah.
there's not going to be the same sort of like the small businesses and local businesses that were like kind of the backbone of the economy. I don't know how you're going to create that without having the same sort of like private equity and
Here you go. Like, this is my sister. They're gonna shut down the states. I mean, at this point, they have to. I mean, we're gonna go in on my local situation here again because just how dystopian it's gotten. But I mean, at this point, they have to. Look at the situation it is across the country, and the problem with COVID is that it's not like you can have a localized issue. Once there's an outbreak in one part of the country, it inevitably affects the rest of us. So our shit in Texas is gonna spill over into other parts of the country, and everyone's gonna have to deal with this shit. I mean, it's not. That's why when it comes to mask wearing, it's not just your issue. It's not something that just affects you. It affects your entire community and everybody around you. You're basically the monkey from Outbreak. People should sacrifice for the economy. People should the country. I mean, we're talking about like the government needs to make those sacrifices in the form of.
It's not hard to do. That's the thing that is frustrating about this is we see how to do it. Other countries did it.
Right.
Like we didn't do it because we have the worst people in the world run the country. Like,
yeah.
It's not that it would even affect their money. Like Amazon. The billionaires would still be just as rich if the people had gotten a stimulus, if the people had been given, had their paychecks secured and backed by the government like other countries did, that the billionaires would have still made all that money, right? Like the people would have just not gone hungry, right? Like you wouldn't be just like running out of food at the food banks and all.
Yeah, I mean, the truth of it is that if it's an adjustment into that sense of you're talking about direct money from government funds to the people, that's the answer. It's not for these government officials to want to reopen the economy and send everybody back to their stores and their bars and expose themselves to the virus. It's to yeah, shut down, but do that shit responsibly. Give the people need a stimulus check. They still can't pass but one.
Well,
Or
I
see,
don't.
look at. I'm not sure what to verify this, but it said, "Listen, people need to die so our economy can be strong." So a Texas senator said that. You know, I'm not sure we have to verify that one, but it doesn't
I
sound
know
like anything one
Abbott
of our senators would not say.
or what's the lieutenant governor's name?
Dan Patrick.
He's the one. He's the one that said some, grandma might have to die or whatever he said. Some
Yeah,
of the
he said
elderly
some
might have to
bullshit
die.
like that, and and what we when we a couple nights ago when we played the video from that traveling nurse that turned whistleblower over here, she pointed out these aren't elderly people that were getting affected, like these were young people. They're 29, 31, even like
Yeah.
and the reason why the death toll isn't as high among younger people is because our bodies theoretically can take more of a pounding and bounce back under proper medical care. But if you don't have proper medical care because the resources are too thin, because doctors don't want to risk their own asses to save people, I mean, we have. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go and see those odds. I mean, I don't want to go know my odds if I get sick and I'm asthmatic. I'm in my 30s, but I mean, shit. If I'm betting him, and I'm probably headed for one of those fucking back rooms.
Well, they're trying to make it all like you saw a lot of discussion today about Thanksgiving and fear mongering about like you're going to kill your grandparents. They're trying to do like they always do, is make every kind of societal ill a personal thing, a personal responsibility, a personal like action sort of problem. They're trying to say, oh, climate change, stop using plastic straws. Like, oh, stop flying so many places. Like, oh, you're scared of coronavirus, don't go anywhere for Thanksgiving. Instead of doing the actual top-down solutions to these problems that we know how to do, we know how to implement. Like all of our societal ills, those are all policy choices. We know how to fix all of that stuff. It's like that way because the ruling class are either too stupid or too sadistic and lack any kind of empathy to actually address. They like to have that threat that you can you can lose your job and you can end up on the street. You can lose your job and lose your insurance. They want you like dialed into the system like a cog in the machine with no aspirations, no chance of ever bettering anything. It's all a dystopian nightmare, and the only political representation you have is to vote for like one ruling class or the other, right? Like, and they're all just absolutely terrible people. It's like such a grim future.
Let's go back to Michael Tracy. So what happened earlier today is Michael Tracy. Do you know more about him than I do? Because it just seems like another fucking Dave Rubin wannabe.
He's a ex-TYT correspondent.
Wow, he is really a Dave Rubin wannabe.
He made his name being like a Russiagate skeptic, right?
Oh, that's what his deal was. But
it wasn't hard to see that Russiagate was bullshit. It doesn't give him any kind of like larger claim to have any kind of good, analysis, right? Like, and he does. He's mostly reactionary. Yeah. He's like that part of the, there's like a contingent of like centrist, anti-woke people, right? Like that's his thing. Is he's like constantly against, he's one of the he's an IDW type, right? He's all like, oh, the cancel culture mobs and like pink-haired college students are running the country.
It sounds like he's trying to reenact Dave Rubin's grift, but let's
his
go
grift is a little different. I mean,
he's just trying to reinvent Dave Rubin's grift, but okay, let's go to what he said.
He's trying to do more he would like to be more of like a Glenn Greenwald type. Not that he has any kind of claim to have that kind of talent, but he's trying to do that sort of go on Tucker Carlson, but not be the hyperbolic psycho.
So this is a tweet that he put out. Issuing declarative statements that are later proven decisively embarrassingly wrong is certainly no impediment to ascending up the ranks of media industry, whether it's traditional corporate media or progressive media. So
Yeah.
you put that tweet out. You put this one. Let's see, where's another one that he put?
But it's like, this is something the shit libs have been doing all weekend. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
But I saw, like,
So
I don't know if you saw that thread that you replied to, that lady was shitting on AOC.
Uh-huh.
That one, if you looked in her feed, she had been doing stuff like that, like screen capping, like Klippenstein and, like, other, like, you know, left, like, pundits and, you know, podcasters and stuff who had said stuff like, oh, Biden's going to lose. It was a project, like one of those group DMs that, like, you know, Sally Albright runs that are all just like shit lib gathering places where they come up with their talking points to try to like bash the left. This was a project that they were doing, right? So he must have seen it or been involved with it somewhere, and he got in on the grift, right? Trying to find screen caps from before COVID was a big deal to try to say, oh, look how wrong they were. And without fail, every single one of those things is from before COVID. Kind of took over and just completely changed the nature of the campaign.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would have said that post-COVID when we saw how it was shaping up, that Trump was fucking up and Biden was hiding in the basement.
Right.
Like,
So that tweet came to the attention of Kyle, and then he issued this response up there. Now show how I flipped my take and declared how Biden will win as soon as COVID hit and the economy imploded. I followed the evidence at the time and followed the evidence when it flipped. But congrats on your Twitter burn, bro. And the reason you don't see a tweet here now is because he got horribly fucking ratioed after his initial tweet came out. And I guess he just felt embarrassed and kind of sulked away in shame a little bit.
Yeah, that's his MO, right?
Yeah, I mean, if let me go back to this one really fast. So,
like, it was that was the correct take when he had it.
Yeah, it was. You know? Look at that ratio, 185. That's pretty sad, bro. Not even gonna lie.
Well, like, all of those tweets are all from March, right?
Yeah. So he put up 3 responses to Kyle, and he got ratioed
flipping your
every
take
fucking time.
But
look at this.
Was right, though.
Look at this shit.
Like, what is he trying to say, though? Like, I don't understand what he's trying to say. Oh, you can't change your mind when you have more evidence?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
what kind of, like, position is that? You know? Like,
yeah,
that's what a smart person would do.
I mean, that's what you do given more evidence, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what somebody like him, he would, like, he's the type that he's like, you know, Russiagate's bullshit. So then whenever anything comes in that sort of leans toward, that lends some sort of credibility to the Russiagate narrative, he finds some way to deny it and dismiss it and pretend that he was originally correct, because that's what that type of person does. They have their position and they don't change even if they have new evidence, right? He's not like he's, I don't want to say, I guess it's like immature or something. I don't even know what you would call that, right? But he's just like,
so
he traffics in the same kind of misinformation that the right does, where they deny facts and hyper focus on facts that help their case and ignore facts that hurt their case.
Right.
And he, you know, not a good faith actor.
Yeah.
Right?
So check out this though. This is the next part of what happened with them. So after he put that whole, if I declaratively and definitively say whatever, he got this response here, with a bunch of screen caps from his own predictions from the upcoming 2016 election. So Ted Cruz will be the 2016 GOP nominee. Yes, I'm writing an essay to that effect. Just accept it, people. Ted Cruz is the frontrunner for 2016 GOP presidential nomination. And for the late night crowd, Ted Cruz is going to win the 2016 GOP nomination. Just accept that and move on.
When was this?
I predicted several months ago Ted Cruz will be the 2016, and I stand by the pick.
When was that from, though?
I think it was.
Was that after Trump entered the scene?
I'm not sure. I don't think it was. Actually no, it wasn't. I don't think Donald Trump joined up on the into the primary at that point. But you know, but if he's gonna go by, you know, you can't alter your positions no matter what kind of, you know, influence ends up joining into the election and could possibly alter the outcome.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just dumb and irrelevant to say that
you were wrong in March, and therefore you're still wrong in November because
Right.
you used to be wrong. It makes zero sense that that would be any kind of standard you would hold anybody to.
Yeah,
If
and
somebody was saying that
Uh-huh.
in October,
yeah,
then you
that
could dunk
makes
on them
sense.
for it.
But but
But like
um,
everybody had that take because that was the correct take.
yes,
Everybody said that when
Yes.
Biden won the primary, everybody was disappointed, not only because we wanted Bernie, but because we thought Biden was going to get his ass kicked
Mhm.
because he can't fucking speak in complete sentences. Like that's
And
the
again,
central issue there.
despite
Biden's
all
shitty
that, he
candidate.
barely fucking won. So,
Yeah.
but this was the
Did you see
outcome
that,
for this, bro. Check this out.
What, he blocked him?
He blocked him.
He didn't respond?
He didn't respond. He just blocked him.
Oh.
Yeah, that's like the
Yes.
ultimate Twitter own.
Yeah, that was a pretty sick one.
Yeah.
Did you see that thing about the New York Post had the article about Biden's cancer charity?
Oh right, yeah. Let's go to that. Oh
Like-
man, so I don't know, like who was running Oppo research for the Trump
Exactly.
campaign? They went with
They
full
had
on
the dumbest
with
like I
this
said,
bullshit on fear mongering about socialism and shit. And
Well,
this
that article
and
in
this really
Vox-
slipped under their fucking mind.
so much slipped under their radar. That article in Vox was perfect. It was like the Trump campaign is too online. I forget who wrote it, but it was like
Yeah, so
exactly
this is
what
one
the
they got
problem
from
with Trump's campaign was.
Like they did
Like,
this
he-
whole Hunter Biden expose and they couldn't
Exactly,
even pull
the
this bullshit out.
dumbest shit.
So check this out. So the tax filings revealed that Biden, his cancer charity, spent millions on salary, zero on research.
Yeah, like that's the kind of thing that he did in 2016. He pointed out how corrupt the Democrats were.
You see,
He didn't
now
have
that-
these
this
like
would've been a
crazy
good shot to
QAnon
ch-
fantasies,
So there you go. A cancer charity started by Joe Biden gave out no money to research and spent almost all of its contributions on staff salaries. The Biden Cancer Initiative was founded in 2017 by the former vice president and his wife Jill Biden to develop and drive implementation of solutions and accelerate progress in cancer prevention, detection, diagnosis, research and care, and reduce disparities in cancer outcomes. According to its IRS mission statement, but it gave out no grants in its first 2 years and spent millions on the salaries of former Washington aides it hired. Like this is, what this reminds me of is this, when it came to the 2016 election and all that shit came out from the Trump campaign about the Clinton Global Initiative and the stuff they did in Haiti and that they supposedly helped Haiti, and then it turns out they just left them all broken and tattered and all kinds of, and then it exposed the whole Clinton Foundation about all their corruption and all the pay for play and all that shit played very, very well in the favor of Trump to expose how corrupt the Clintons were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, he didn't do that this time. He ran on this like OAN like psycho campaign which was great for his base, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it was a lot of red meat.
even after he got even after he completely dropped the ball on all of the major issues, he still had a very good chance of winning, like we saw, the final tally, right? Like, and if he had just done a bit more to point out
Look at
all
this.
of
This is
problems
fucking,
with him,
man. These,
it might have helped. But like, he ran the exact wrong kind of campaign,
yeah.
the exact opposite kind of campaign that he ran in 2016, and it was like, not only that he was like dumb and didn't have the right strategies, but it was just like lazy and careless. Instead of going and running and pointing out just all of his years of corruption, like all of his like years of stuff that he did that was bad for the people, he just focused on these hyper online partisan issues that nobody really cared about. You weren't going to flip independent voters by pointing out that he had connections with China or whatever. Like,
no. Well, okay. So let's look at this though. The charity took in $4.8 million in contributions in the fiscal year 2017-2018 and spent $3 million on the payroll in those 2 years. The group's president, Jeremy Simon, raked in $429,000 in fiscal year 2018. According to the charity's most recent tax filings, Simon, a former Pfizer executive and longtime healthcare lobbyist who headed up the White House Cancer Task Force in the Obama administration, saw his salary nearly double from $224,000 he made in 2017. Danielle Carnival, former chief of staff for Obama's cancer initiative, the Cancer Moonshot Task Force, took home $258,000 in 2018. See, the charity spent $56,000 on conferences, $59,000 on travel. The travel expenditures swelled to $97,000, and the nonprofit spent $742,000 on conferences. Jesus.
You know what I read? I saw somebody reply to that, and they were like, they weren't necessarily like they were a pass through, right? So they tried to pressure people to give money to cancer research. So
why don't
they weren't necessarily supposed to be spending money themselves,
okay,
as much as they were supposed to be encouraging people to spend money on this.
So they're like, so what's the need for the charity?
Like I said, they would call their, they would work with their rich contacts, their donors, and their, their base, and get them to put money on the different cancer research projects.
I mean, it just seems like
they didn't collect the money. Like some charities collect money and then dole it out. Other ones just sort of raise awareness and try to get you to contribute to different, aspects of the research efforts. Like, I mean, I don't think that's corrupt, like necessarily corrupt. I mean, it seems like it was probably like a lot of this stuff is just like patronage jobs.
But look at the increase in expenditures for even the individual salaries. I mean, that's ridiculous at that point.
I think those are probably pretty standard.
Oh.
Like, I think that's what people get pissed off about, right? Like that's what DC. I mean, that's the swamp, right? It's like jobs for their fail sons.
If that's a standard, that's a bad standard.
It is a bad standard. That's why I don't. That's why I don't give to any of these NGOs, right? Like,
right. Well,
they're all like that. Most of the, 70-80% of the money goes to paying salaries and expenses. It's more about virtue signaling and, keeping your fail sons employed, right?
Yeah. Well, Nick, I think, had a pretty good take about this, actually. This is why charity is a scam of capitalism. Fuck charity, implement socialism.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, imagine the money that went in charity. Imagine if that was just in taxes behind good social policies. Now I think I think the country would be a lot better off. But
because most of that charity money gets redirected, like we see. Most of that charity money gets redirected back to the ruling class.
Yes,
and their allies. Like it, all that money people give, it goes to funding these. Fancy offices and like cushy travel schedules, and they have like conferences where they go and pat each other on the back, and like so much of it is just spent.
Do they have like rich winter solstice orgies in the back?
Well, it's like everything else though. It's like they, like the working class funds the extravagance of the ruling class.
Right.
Like everything else, it's like. We do have socialism, but it's the exact wrong kind. It's like socialism where the 99% like funds the 1% to just collect money endlessly on their, weird ego fetish thing where they need to be rich.
Yeah, and I mean to what you're talking about though. I mean, this is why you end up with situations like this where we're talking about. Look at this. Today, the student debt crisis reached $1.7 trillion. Look at that.
Yeah.
$1.7 trillion.
Well, that's cool, man. It'll trickle down, right? Like.
Yeah,
or trickle, sideways. It'll trickle somewhere.
Yeah, it'll trickle all. I mean, it feels like it's just piss trickling down on the working class. But Ilhan Omar responded to it. Cancel it.
Yeah, we need to cancel all of it. None of this means tested.
Cancel it.
Like, Biden's not going to do that. He's not going to do that.
If he, it would go a long way if he did do that. But
he's not. But even if he did,
there was this take I wanted to throw at you.
I think my reply was perfect. That's not how money works, dude. You
go. That's not how money works. And you had a troll and not knowing how anything works. It's kind of, there you go. Oh yeah, somebody would jump in.
So that person was agreeing with me.
Oh, they're agreeing with you. There you go. Not knowing how anything works is kind of the whole conservative restaurant.
Yeah, you should give them a like.
Oh yeah, let's throw a like at them. There you
go. Yeah, no, that's not how money works at all. That's debt. Like they're not going to collect tax money and pay the bank for the student debt, right?
Right.
They're just going to like go in and like delete the numbers in the account, right? That's literally what they're going to do. Like you saw, there's that famous interview with Ben Bernanke.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how they, like what they did when they did that in 2008. You know, when they went and gave the banks the money, not. Instead of giving it to the people to pay the banks, they just gave it directly to the banks.
Yeah.
They went in, they asked him about it, and he's like, so do they print money, or how do they do that? And he's like, no, we just went in the computer and changed a few numbers, and then it was done. Like, that's what it is. It's fucking numbers on the computer. That's what's so fucking aggravating about these rich people, like their endless obsession with collecting money. It's not like Scrooge McDuck swimming in a vault. There's not even a physical representation of the money. Like the money is just on their computer screens.
I saw this
whole ethos set up around as extracting as much wealth as possible, and they buy a lot of shit with it, but there's only so much shit you can buy. Like you can't spend $1 billion. You can't physically do it.
I saw this meme a while back that said that collectively the Earth is in debt like $6 trillion. But yeah, but
that doesn't matter though.
No, but that was the point of the meme. The meme said, "Who the fuck do we owe Mars?"
Well, like we each other.
I know, but
it's not even each other. It's like, the 7 billion of us owe maybe 100,000 people, billions and billions and trillions of dollars. And
right.
It's all fake. They could totally, like we said, they spent $3 trillion propping up Wall Street since the COVID hit. That money, it wasn't like it didn't come off the books somewhere. They made it up and gave it to them. Like that's how a bank issues a loan, right? Like a bank gives you a loan for your house, they make the money. It's not, they don't take somebody else's money and give it to you. Like that's a misconception, right? They go in the computer and mark you down for 125K or whatever it is, right? And give it to you, and then it shows up in your account, right? Like it's not
all digital dollars
being moved around, and it's not even, like I said, it's not like the whole pay-go concept as far as like you have to raise money so you can spend it. Like that doesn't make any sense either, right? That's not how the budget works. That's not how any of this works. But they stick with that kind of framing, like that classical economics, only when it applies to funding social programs.
Yes.
When it's funding wars or it's funding their bonuses or their bailout or their stimulus or any of that shit, it's just money on a computer. So yeah, I mean, they should do it, but they're not going to. And like we saw tonight, like they're going to make it the like austerity hawks on both sides of the aisle are going to make it like a knockdown, drag out fight if there's anything that they give. If they give anything to people, they're going to make them fight for it, right? It's going to be a long, drawn-out thing, and you're going to have psycho, like, what they do. They're going to throw red meat to the base and then get their psycho fans to, protest it as vigorously as possible because they don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
So that tweet tonight.
But, going through all this stuff, we kind of buried the lead on our video there about Trump's Mean Girl tweets. So when we go to the headline out here, bam, there we go. Trump conceded. Good news, everybody. Could pack it up. Go home.
Dude, that's altered media.
Fine. All right. Fine. Okay, I trimmed out all the bullshit. But I look.
We didn't really finish the We didn't finish the never mind. We didn't finish the last segment, but it's cool. Just cut this part out.
Well, anyways, yeah. So this is what he tweeted out, Matt. I mean, this is about as close as you're gonna get to him actually admitting that he lost. With the whole, I mean, he won the election, he won because the election was rigged, and every single tweet that he's been putting up today has been flagged up by Twitter, over and over.
Which I won by a lot. Yeah, that's his theory of the case. Like,
Yeah.
you'll notice that the majority of the votes accounted on his complaint list is this theory that the server, the vote counting equipment was somehow at fault, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not a case. There's no case. I don't think they filed any papers about that machine, right? Like,
No.
Those machines were in place. Like, there's nothing to do with it, right? Like, the whole error they're basing this on was in Michigan, a human error. Somebody input the numbers in
Right.
wrong, right? And it was I think like 4,000 votes or something went to Trump or went to Biden that shouldn't have, which they fixed right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's seized on that, and that's his thing. But it was misreported as a glitch, right? Like, journalists and stuff, like people who didn't really understand what they were reporting wrote it in as a glitch in the system, and it wasn't. It was human error.
Yeah.
So then they've seized on that misreporting of the glitch as some,
some
defining
larger
characteristic.
what's some
of it.
larger conspiracy?
Well, they think that anywhere the vote machine, those counting machines were used, is somehow suspect, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I don't know
yeah. Well, let me see. Let me pull up. So this is the last thing you put. I just thought this was hilarious. I won the election, and then you have Twitter. Official sources called this election differently.
Oh man,
But
Donnie.
so here, so this is what you were talking about, though. Why does fake news media continuously assume that Joe Biden will ascend to the presidency, not even allowing our side to show, which we are just getting ready to do, how badly shattered and violated our great Constitution has been in the 2020 election? It was attacked, perhaps like never before, from large numbers of poll watchers that were thrown out of counting rooms in many of our states, to millions of ballots that have been altered by Democrats, only 4 Democrats, to voting that the election was over, to using the radical left-owned Dominion voting systems, turned down by Texas and many others because it was not good or secure. It was those responsible for the safeguarding of the Constitution cannot allow the fake results of 2020's mail-in election to stand. The world is watching.
What a psycho, man! Like,
Oh God,
what? That's some fucking.
that's some sad shit, man. It's
like,
it's some pretty sad shit.
Uh,
Other than that, he retweeted a bunch of Proud Boys.
But he's just such a whiny bitch, man. Like, you sound like such a crybaby. You don't sound tough. Like, I don't know. That's really harmful that he's doing that. Like, I don't want to sound like a lib, but that's shitty. It's a shitty thing to do.
Oh, he also
like,
he also took a shot at John Bolton.
Yeah, let's check that out.
Look at this. John Bolton was one of the dumbest people in the government that I've had the pleasure to work with. A sullen, dull, and quiet guy. He added nothing to national security except, gee, let's go to war. Also, illegally released much classified information. A real dope.
The classified information was like the shitty things he said about Trump that Trump
Yeah.
sued him to get him to not say.
I mean, is
Like-
it really classified that Trump is a jackass?
He's right though.
No, he's right though. I mean, look, on that point, I'll agree with them that John Bolton's a fucking warmonger asshole.
But
so.
he seems really dumb too.
Yeah,
Like that interview of him a few weeks ago with Mehdi Hassan. I think you watched it, right?
Yeah,
He
I
seems
got
dumb
that.
as shit, man. Like, he doesn't sound like he's smart. Like, I think
Uh-huh.
Trump is right. Like, his thing is just like, how do I get more war? Like, I don't understand what the hell is wrong with him.
I mean, never
He's
met
just
a
like-
war he didn't like, I guess is the point with that John Bolton.
But
dude.
it's like he's got some sort of like moral philosophy that is just about starting chaos and violence and raining down terror upon the earth. It's just such a I mean, I'm sure there's plenty like him too, right? Like, I'm sure he's not the only one that thinks that way. Like, that's the neocon world look, and he's just an extreme example of it. And I think he's a big fucking moron. But he's got a cool mustache.
More than
though.
likely, yeah,
I like his look.
I'll say that he has an epic mustache.
He's got a better look than most of those guys.
Well, I mean, it's like we're talking about like Ted Cruz, and now he changed his whole shit to like bearded Ted Cruz and
Yeah, I like bearded Ted Cruz better.
yeah, bearded Ted Cruz and fucking what do you call it with the mutton chops and all that kind of all that kind
Does
of
Ted
shit.
Cruz have fans though? Like,
I don't know.
I don't think any of the slugs in power, like any of the other
Republican politicians,
Yeah.
like none of them are going to like ascend to the throne.
Right.
You know, like I said,
No.
maybe Matt Gaetz if he does hook up with
Well,
Tiffany
actually,
Trump.
Matt Gaetz issued a fucking endorsement already, bro.
Of who?
Well, let's check this out from Raw Story. Matt Gaetz endorses Trump for 2024 in a Fox News rant against Dick Cheney and Paul Ryan.
Let's see that.
Well, just this was our official show comment. There we go. Hold up.
What did it say?
There we go. Yeah, so
let's watch that clip.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. I think that we have a clip on here that we could go ahead and check out.
Let's see what he says about this.
Where is this thing?
Like I said, I mean,
let me see if I can get it to play. I don't want to fuck up.
I feel like Matt Gaetz is the one who like understands like Trumpism best. You know, I feel like he's the one who's most like Trump, like in his just the like his messaging, right? Like he has a different version of it than, you know, like the other prominent ones are all they're like underpinnings, right? Like Tom Cotton is an authoritarian, like, you know, neocon, right? Like Ben Sass and like the other people in the Senate, like Josh Hawley, like they like have their own sort of like mini lanes that I don't think are appealing enough to like the hogs, right? Like they don't like get the like gin up the same sort of, they don't like hit the same spot in like the lizard brain, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like Gaetz could do it.
Well, let's go to Mr. Tiffany Trump now. Or the future Mr. Tiffany Trump.
I am here to endorse the Trump 2024 movement whenever the president wants to ignite it. You're right, Jesse, to be skeptical of
There's
these.
no accountability for this. That's what I said. He's not. He can endorse Trump now and then change his mind in 5 minutes, and no one will ever like call him on it or remind him that he did this or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Special interests masquerading as Republicans.
Yep.
I'm the only Republican in Congress that doesn't take any federal PAC money because I find that entire process to be disgusting. Joe Biden has indicated that he wants to reach out to Republicans, but he's reaching in all the wrong places. It seems he wants to import the foreign policy of Dick Cheney and the trade policy of Paul Ryan. That's what President Trump got us away from. We're no longer a movement that wants to invade every cave and wherever a stand while we impoverish our people with bad trade deals and invite every illegal immigrant to cross our borders illegally. The populism that President Trump has installed in the Republican Party germinates from the enthusiasm of our voters. And if we are faithful to our voters, not the K Street PACs, then I think we can maintain the America First brand for political generations to come.
I think you're right.
Oh, dude. Yeah, now I see why people think he's fucking dangerous. Man.
What do you mean? He's better than them. They usually are. Like,
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I said it. That's why I said. I know I see why people think he's fucking dangerous because all that populism shit. He's actually spinning that shit pretty well.
So I'm saying the other guys don't know what they're doing. They don't talk like that. Like, you know, Hawley like talks about monopolies once in a while, but like not in any kind of like, you know, legit way. And you know, Tom Cotton talks about like doing fascist shit sometimes, you know, but like not something that is gonna like get the people fired up. Like Gaetz is saying the right thing, right? Like he's obviously, you know, like a Nazbol at best, right? Like
I mean, I guess is that what right-wing populism is? You mix a little bit of an economic message. No, I mean, like you mix a little bit of an economic mission, and then like a little bit of those talking points with economics, and then you sprinkle in all that abject fucking xenophobia and racism.
When it's been done for real, like in the instances when it's done for real, it looks like fascism. You know, like mostly it's just covered to do corruption. But it's what I'm saying. Like
Bro, that's
what do you mean? Like
no, that's.
It is though. Think about it.
No, but I'm saying like, bro, that's a message that can resonate with a lot of people, and then you're telling me that it's just straight fucking fascist.
Well, think about it, man. Think about the moral underpinnings of it. It's
right.
like entrenches like a ruling class, right? Like, isn't it like some sort of like America First agenda?
Right,
Like, I
like
don't
a
know.
hyper nationalist kind of
Yeah, like
shit,
getting
right?
rid of any kind of like diversity requirements and stuff, like just, sort of like the underpinnings of the post-civil rights era that kind of like have.
Because Sagar is another one that he's a right winger, and he champions that right wing kind of populist shit
Yeah, they don't
too.
believe in like systemic racism and shit like that.
Okay,
Like they,
so is that the difference? Would you say between like leftist populism and right wing populism?
I mean, I don't know what they are like. If they were pushing a genuine version of it, right? Like
Uh-huh.
they could do a version of it, like if they were actually serious about, you know, doing any kind of like redistribution, right? Like, but I don't think they are. I think it's really just, like they could start promoting unions and have some sort of like seniority. They could find a way to like make it like nativist, right? They could find a way to like, you know,
And you think that's a better alternative than neoliberalism?
no, it's fascism, man. It's like what you wait. Like, it doesn't. I mean, if they could do it, like, think about it. All right, so it would be like the if they could do it where it was like I'm just trying to think like it. The thing is, it's like it's. I mean, it's just I don't know because, like I said, I can't see them actually doing a real version of it. So like,
Right. So you're talking about like actually doing a real. You can't see the Republicans going full fash, is what you're saying.
no, I could.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
So-
but
So like a real version of right wing populism isn't fascism. That's something else.
well, like if it's it's like white supremacist, right? Like, isn't that like I don't know how they would enact it policy wise, right? But that would be their aim. Like you see, like like we talk about with like the ICE camps and like the
eugenics,
the obsession with like critical race theory and like all these things tied together where they could enact a slate of policy, moves that would sort of permanently enshrine, like a white male dominant class, like the patriarchy or whatever.
But those things work though for a lot of people. The economic stuff that he's talking about, the anti-war stuff, the more nationalist version of trade, where it's America First stuff. I mean, even from the working class perspective, those things are beneficial.
I mean, it would be based if they weren't. I mean, but like, aren't they racist though? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the
that's
shit with the
problem.
immigrants. Like, I don't know.
I mean, that's why what we were talking about last time. I guess that's why that class reductionist shit kind of falls apart, because even if you do agree on those two aspects of things, you ignore the entire social underpinnings of systemic racism, and inevitably, if you push under a current system without those social reforms, it's going to create greater inequities in the system among race. Even if you take care of some of those class issues and move forward on areas that you can unify. But yeah. So
I think they would. All right, so say they did, like we were talking about last night, though. I feel like you could get the base like on board for a lot of the social democratic reforms, like the basics, like Medicare for all, and like better wage, like $15 minimum wage, and right to unionize.
Now, like, would a right wing populist push for something like a $15 minimum wage?
I mean, I think they would have to, right? Like that would be, unless they probably wouldn't. They would probably have, they would probably do some version where it's like the states can decide or whatever. They'd probably that's probably what we're going to end up with, right? I doubt we're going to end up with like a $15 federal wage. I think it'll probably be like 12 and up or something, right? Like I think they're using it as their negotiating position. But yeah, say they did that. Say they did Medicare for all. And like somehow back some sort of basic workers organization, some sort of government jobs program. Say they did some sort of like New Deal type, infrastructure project. Like,
Yeah, I mean, if they started doing stuff like, I mean, look at Eisenhower's public works project. You go back to the interstate highway system and then the creation of suburbia. You know,
yeah,
if a Republican came in office and started doing stuff like that, maybe even
that's
if
a lot of money, man. I
yeah,
don't
it's
know
a lot
why
of
they
money
don't do
because
it.
at that point, of course, when Eisenhower was running all those public works projects, the top tax rate was over 90%. So that's how he was able to do that. But
Yeah.
if that was the priority from a right wing populist government, right? Then I mean I think that would be something that people would be able to get behind. Because again, it's
Yeah.
about tangible returns. It's about material benefit.
Yeah, it would be better than a normal Republican, but like, I just think like the likelihood of them doing it here, yeah, here's like the likelihood of them doing it, I feel like, is less than the likelihood of a neoliberal administration doing like doing something that's not 100% terrible, you
All
know,
right.
like doing something good. Like, I think I'd say, like, say you get 50-50 odds that a neoliberal will do something good in 4 years. Like, you know, might
Right.
not be as good as what the, you know, the fascist is promising, right? But the likelihood of that happening is so much greater than the likelihood of some sort of right-wing populist takeover that actually materialized. Like, Trump didn't do any of that shit.
No.
And it's not like the other people
Well,
were like,
okay, so one of
it's
the
not like Matt Gaetz was like clamoring for it.
Right.
He wasn't like tweeting about like we need to like
Well,
you know,
okay, so-
raise the minimum
so-
wage or whatever.
Right. So I mean, one of the things that Trump did really rally against in 2016 was NAFTA, right?
Yeah.
And then they had the what is it called? The
The-
the UMCA or UMC something like that.
Yeah, U.S. Mexico Canada agreement.
Yeah, that one, right? And what he really did was take most of what was already in NAFTA and he altered a few he altered a few things that were largely, in the grander scheme of things, inconsequential to actually reforming what NAFTA is. And then I mean, so it was more of a rebranding than it was a material reform.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
So I mean,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, he's gonna still call it a win, and I would suspect people that identify themselves as right wing populists in government would probably line up about the same way when you talk about. I mean, I think if Obamacare wasn't put in place by Obama, you would have already seen a version of Obamacare pushed by these right wing populist kinds of people. You know. If that makes sense, because I think that's more because Obamacare is more of a corporate.
But like, think about what their agenda has been, though, right? Like, instead of supporting any kind of improvement to healthcare, they've taken the opposite. I mean, I guess we could see a future kind of come around where they didn't have to run against the Democrats, right? Like, if the Democrats' position was expand access, you know, make it easier, cheaper, whatever, for people to get insurance, they would be against it because that was just how the politics shook up. It could be a future where, you know, the Democrats don't fuck with healthcare anymore, and then, you know, some elements of the Republican Party are saying we should fuck with healthcare. Like, that would be further in the future. I feel like I don't think that's close enough.
Yeah.
I mean, they have been running. Their position on healthcare is basically like, yeah, we're going to get rid of the protections for like Trump's insurance plan, right? Like, we're going to get rid of the pre-existing condition protections and allow cheaper insurance on the market. So like undo Obamacare, right? Like the junk insurance part, right? That you had to have like basic coverage. You couldn't sell a product that didn't have basic coverage. So like that's, you know, like as close to being like a complete free market as you can imagine, right? It's just them just doing whatever they want to make money.
Right, let me see. Let me jump over. Let's go back to John Bolton and his epic mustache. I wanted to show you this, bro.
The Trump campaign simply has no evidence. Their basic argument is this was a conspiracy so vast and so successful that there's no evidence of it. Now, if that's true, I really want to know who the people are who pulled this off. We need to hire them at the CIA. The Trump campaign simply has no evidence.
Dude. I mean, does he even really get what he said there? If you think he does, or just like doesn't register, I mean, basically is what was tweeted out here. John Bolton openly admits that the CIA's function is to overthrow democracies.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that?
What? No, he wants to hire him at the CIA. Sorry, I was reading the thing about NAFTA, or about the new NAFTA.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me go back and replay it, bro. So,
sorry.
Yeah, it's cool. Let's see.
The Trump campaign simply has no evidence. Their basic argument is this was a conspiracy so vast and so successful that there's no evidence of it. Now, if that's true, I really want to know who the people are who pulled this off. We need to hire them at the CIA. The Trump campaign simply has no evidence.
That's a good point. I didn't think about it like that, but yeah, like with the kind of surveillance state that we have,
right?
Where there's like everything is monitored all the time, like every single email from the Biden campaign, every single text message from the Biden campaign, every single text message from Dominion, you know, every single correspondence from all of these companies is like in a CIA server somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. So they have all this shit. There's no way they'd be able to hide this kind of conspiracy where they got the voting company to fucking rig the voting for them, right? That would be nuts, right? There would be
well, I mean, to the extent of exactly what you're saying, I mean, there's no evidence of what Trump is alleging, but I mean, to that other point that John Bolton is making his joke about, we need to hire them at the CIA so that there's no evidence that there is an overthrow of democracy.
Ooh. That's a good. I mean, I don't think that's what he meant. I think he was just saying we need to hire them because they're smart. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he was saying so we can do better coups. You know. You think that's what he was saying?
That's what it sounded like, bro. I mean, I'm not imagining this shit.
I don't think he's. I think, like I said, I think he's dumb.
Yeah, I know. That's why he's probably dumb enough to go ahead and say, "Yeah, the CIA needs help doing better."
Though.
What?
You know, like we want to hire smart people for the CIA. Like
no, he wants to hire smart people to do better coups at the CIA.
That's kind of based, actually. Fuck.
John Bolton and
someone I hate does something cool.
John Bolton and his base fucking mustache CIA
that's the same energy of that's the same energy as like Elon saying we'll coup whoever we want.
That's exactly what it is. I think it's that brazen, bro. Like I'm not even I really would not put it past John Bolton to really put that shit out there. Him? Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't rule that shit out.
There's no way.
Who would you? Okay, ideally, who would you want? Who would you want as a Secretary of Defense? Ideally, like you had no obstruction.
What do you mean? I don't know, Medea Benjamin, you know, someone like that, like an activist, like somebody who would dismantle it.
For the Secretary of Defense to head up all. Yeah.
Dismantle it, take it down. Like I'd want their job to be shutting down as many bases as possible.
Really?
You know, like if there's. I'm sure there's places in the world where our presence actually helps. You know, I'm sure there's instances where like having a base in your neighborhood or your country is helpful, like keeping out like potential like adversaries or just as like a deterrent, right? Like,
right.
And I'm sure there's instances where like they serve some sort of purpose in the community, like the community relies on them for whatever. Like, then you can leave those there. You know, but the vast majority of that, there's like 800 bases or 700 and something bases, right? Like, I'm pretty sure we could shut down like 90% of them and the world would be a better place, you know? Like, I think that should be the goal of any kind of like truly progressive foreign policy. Like, I'm not saying like close up shop and like, go isolationist, but have those bases, like if you want to keep the bases there, then turn them into like solar panel factories, like turn them into something Green New Deal related, and as a way for us to use all that money to do good for the world instead of evil. Like it could be done. Like it's like, it's like hippie shit, but like A lot of people seem to think that like America would be in constant state of threat if we didn't have such a dominant military. Like that's the right wing response. Is
Right.
like, oh, we need to spend $1 trillion a year on the army, or else we'll get invaded. You know, like that's first of all, it's preposterous.
Let's
you
see.
know,
We got a visitor in the comments section over on YouTube. All right, Bob Ross Jr. What up, guys? I'm here to drop comments. We like comments. We invite
I
all
was just
comers.
talking about. I was on a good roll. I forgot what I was talking
We're
about.
talking about Medea Benjamin.
Oh no, I was talking about closing up bases.
Yeah. Well, because you figure that she would actually go ahead and close up bases around the world.
I mean, I don't know. Do you think she would do like good terrorism?
I mean,
Do you think she would like take down like like attack the Azerbaijanis and shit? Like try to like win back rights for indigenous people?
I mean, would you call that a good use of imperialism?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Good use of imperialism. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we try to be on the same side here. So
we good like all that money goes into the military every year, right? And seems like it's mostly
that
just
that we looked at in the history segment for the Marine Corps, and how many that Okinawa is actually a base for our Marines, and we house so many thousand Marines over in
Marines.
Yeah, 200,000 active duty Marines.
200,000.
Yeah, across all of our bases. So I mean, if you're gonna go and I don't know what the population over there on Okinawa is, but I'm venturing to say probably in thousands that we have at least over there.
I think. Yeah. We could be doing good things with that money. Like that money largely just goes to like weapons companies and like logistics companies, like just like giant American contractors, right? It's a jobs program, right? It's like, but it's just mostly just a way to like give more money to the the 1%, right? Like there could be a way where you had that money going into like infrastructure and, like I said, solar panels and wind turbines and just different stuff, so that the army could become like a global Army Corps of Engineers. Like that would be a good use of $1 trillion a year. Like instead of fucking making nukes and hypersonic jets and just all this ridiculous shit that we don't need, and fucking the F-35 and just boondoggles.
Actually, let me pull up the info on that Okinawa base.
Jamie, pull it up.
All right, let's see.
Why don't you pull up the info on our bases and see if we can see how to shut them down?
Well, let's check this out. The U.S. population in Okinawa is about 80,000. 30,000 are active duty military people from all 4 branches in the armed forces. 1,400 Department of Defense civilians, 700 DoD dependent school teachers and staff, and almost 25,000 U.S. family members from our military community. Service members reside and train on numerous major installations in Okinawa.
Yeah, well, it's like that all over the world. That's where all the bases are. I mean, that's a big one, though, right? I don't think they're all that big, but like we have, pretty sure we have like close to 800 bases around the world.
Let's look at this thing really fast. All right, so this is Okinawa, Japan military corps bases. Okinawa is a great place to get stationed if you're up for adventure and love. Oh my god, it sounds like a travel brochure, bro.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and so you can use it as a stepping stone to travel to Asia or Europe, or just know that travel off island in most cases is not cheap. So it's a whole different lifestyle than the U.S. The Okinawans are very laid back, and you may feel like you're going back in time with everything closes early and you need cash more than cards. While it's much safer than America, you still need to take precautions with locking your cars or in houses. It is common for people to open your door for deliveries off base. There have been many cases of military ID theft in cars. I mean, it's a very small island, too. Look at it. 67 miles long and then 17 miles, 2 to 17 miles wide.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
That's tiny.
Yeah, and they have all these little, there's activities sticking out the ocean, aquariums. Man, it makes me want to go for a fucking vacation over there, bro. They probably hate. I mean, I was considering that for a little while, actually. Before law school, I graduated with my business degrees and everything else, and like nobody really wanted to hire me because I didn't have experience with QuickBooks and shit. So then, I went and like, well, I might as well go into the family tradition since I have so many military people, and then I looked to join the Marines, the Navy, not the Army. The Army didn't really appeal to me, but
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not so bad. I mean, it sucks that you're doing like, imperialist war crimes, but
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
probably most of it's just like hanging out with like local people and like,
Well, I wonder about, because I was gonna go into the officer school, right? So I passed the exams right off the bat when I went and took them, and then I already had my I had my bachelor's at that point, so I thought something related to my business stuff might be useful in some kind of officer position in the service. So I mean, I thought it would probably be like in logistics or supplies or something boring. And my
you
brother
would be burying the bodies.
I don't know exactly what that would have entailed.
I want to sign up for the part that does the coups.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a coup.
Well, that was the difference. That's why I strayed away from going into the Marines, and I was actually looking more at the Navy at that point, because the Marines, they give you less freedom as to what exactly you're doing. You get in and you take one of those exams, and then they're like, all right, that's it. This is gonna be your job for your commitment.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe if we can get rid of all these, these like violent psychos who run the country now, like maybe we can get, some, like, just like you could even like maintain like the characteristics of the military, right? Just make it so that like war was just much less likely of a outcome, like any kind of like stop drone striking and stop just constantly aggressing and just like coexist for a few years, like that would be an improvement.
No, I mean,
it's just like they're trying to like pick a fight in the South China Sea and shit. Like they're crazy, like they do like blockades on like the Persian Gulf, and they're constantly like pissing on people and just swinging their dick around. And
right.
It's horrible. It's like the biggest impediment to global peace possible. It's like if we got rid of the military, it's not like we would be under threat. It's like the world would rejoice. The world would chill out. Like I don't think these other countries want to spend all that money on the military every year.
I don't know how comfortable all these people feel about having our bases or having to house our bases all over the world either.
No.
I don't know if I'm just I don't exactly know how much it's emphasized in Japan as far as educating them about World War II and the atom bomb and the devastation of that war. But I would kind of guess there's some kind of negative feelings about us in general. Maybe I mean, especially having devastated two other cities with nuclear devices. So
yeah.
I mean, every so often you'd probably just go randomly egg one of the military cars.
I don't know. I think I mean, I'm sure there's bases like that, but I don't know if the Okinawa one is like. I think
because it's actually. I mean, it's to me it sounds like occupation.
I think it's the entire economy. I think it's a huge boost to the economy, like having a base there like that. I think.
Right. I mean, it's a boost here with the base that we have over here in El Paso, and we get a lot of funding from having military funding allocation here because of the community. But
I'm sure, like the soldiers buy, like, just keep their local economy afloat in a lot of ways, right? Like, I don't think
that's true. So you wouldn't say that there's like every time somebody walks by.
I don't think they hate them. Yeah, I mean, I think that
they're
hate
just looking at like you
there.
fucking Yankee.
Yeah, I don't think it's like that. I think it's like they resent the base being there, but I feel like they're probably pretty chill with the troops themselves.
Yeah. Do you want to go to Cori Bush, bro?
Yeah.
All right. So Cori Bush has gone up on MSNBC. She went out on Joy Reid actually a couple times, but she didn't disappoint though, bro. Like she was fucking great. Let me pull it up so you can see what Cori Bush had to say to Joy Reid.
And this is not breaking up the caucus. Let me just say, we are fine. I have a relationship with all of the people on the caucus. A lot of them that are saying, that this was hurtful. But what's hurtful for me is the people in my community dying. What's hurtful is St. Louis being #1 for police killing since 2013 for 6 years straight, according to some research that we keep having this happen. We have this super aggressive police department, and they don't get to continue to just kill Black folks in my community and I not say anything. So yes, defund your butts. Defund you. Take that money that we're using for MRAPs, the money that we're using for tear gas and stockpiling SWAT gear. We're going to take that money and put it into substance use programs. We're going to put it into education and mental health resources. We're going to take it and use it for our unhoused population. We are reallocating funds. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's district, anybody from keeping their seats. I'm not looking at feelings, though. I'm looking at life. I'm trying to save lives. And this is not break.
Yeah, so so that was Cori Bush on Joy Reid. I mean, I don't think they're ready.
What did Joy Reid say?
She just kind of sat there with a dumb look on her face after she was saying that. I mean, that was at least what was circulating around.
Well, that's still not how you disagree with that.
No, well, it's part of that whole thing that they're trying to say about, like, the radical left and defund the police hurt their electoral chances.
I know,
Cori Bush was
understand
pretty,
it, right?
No, but Cori Bush was pretty open about defund the police.
Yeah.
And she won. She did good for herself. And you can see how, she's very. I mean, she's I guess she's more like a Rashida Tlaib than a AOC, who's more. I don't think that brazen with her positions, I guess, or not as animated. I guess I'm not sure exactly what I'm trying to say, but but I mean, I just love how real she is when she gets up on these MSNBC shows.
Here's a clip of her. I don't know what she's talking about. It's from.
Let's see. Let me see another. Send me some more Cori Bush over there.
Well, I just looked up Cori Bush, Joy Reid.
Let's see.
Yeah, no, I think like I said, like we talked about with Clyburn, it's like a lot of the attacks, to the extent that there were attacks based on defunding the police, it's the attacks are framed. The only reason they're able to exist is because they haven't had strong messaging to respond to the activists calling that, right? They have they cannot affect what the people on the street are saying or doing, right? That's not up to the politicians. Their job is to either condemn it or embrace it or just respond to the words on the street. And then especially if they're having attack ads, they can't just say, it's not enough for them to just say,
we're not
we don't want to defund the police.
Right.
We're not doing that.
You have to say what you're standing for.
You have to explain the sentiment and explain the budgetary pressures that are creating this phenomena all over the country, where the cops are just getting these massive sums of money to do this kind of policing that is unnecessary and malicious and counterproductive to just about every metric you could imagine. It's a toxic presence, having this prison industrial complex and this revolving door. It's terrible. It's like there's no good argument for it. You can't, like, you have to argue for mass incarceration if you're saying you want to have police having the kind of burden that they're having now, like they're having the kind of societal responsibilities that they have now. This money can be better allocated to different government services to better fill the needs of the community. That's very clear from every kind of objective analysis. So the fact that they can keep up these bad faith attacks has a lot to do with the sentiment not being thoroughly, explored in the media, right? Like, it needs to be addressed, needs to be taken seriously. And having Cori Bush there, who's explicitly been a voice for, for Black Lives Matter and defund the police, and knows exactly what the pressures like from the community are, like what that's speaking to, that's going to be a lot harder to ignore and vilify, if we have her in Congress, right? She doesn't, she's responding to her constituents. She's not, like she said, there's no problem with her colleagues, right? Like, she's representing her district.
So let's play up the second video here.
Right, but I am not Breonna Taylor. This Breonna Taylor was murdered in her bed at night, and she does not have justice. Murdered by the police. And I just want people to, you know, we have to stretch ourselves and pay attention to what's happening in other parts of the country. But this has been national news for a long time. People have protested in the streets with this name, and it just saddens me that that people in leadership, people that want to be in leadership, don't know the struggles that are happening to Black people in this country, and it's just disheartening, and it was hurtful, absolutely hurtful. I didn't hear it once. I didn't hear it twice. I heard it several times. I'm being called, you know, Breonna Taylor today, but it's okay, because we'll educate and we'll make sure that people know who she is, what she stood for, that she was an award-winning EMT, you know, in her community, that she's someone who deserves justice right now.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you believe that? I mean,
they probably thought, like, that name sounds familiar. I've heard that name somewhere before. It must be this congresswoman,
right?
You know, like that's crazy.
How out of touch you gotta be? Like, none of that shit registered with you.
We saw this over the summer. Remember, was it Schumer or Pelosi or somebody got their names wrong on TV?
Yeah.
Didn't say, they called George Floyd like Doug Smith or something crazy like that. Like, they just were completely off with it, and it was like barely even attended to. And it's like, I guess you're busy, but you don't forget your donors' names like that. I bet.
I bet they do.
They don't call the lobbyists from GE. He's not like they don't call him George Floyd.
Oh man, can you imagine that? Like if Jamal Bowman was wearing a George Floyd mask and they started calling him George Floyd.
The sad thing is,
it's
like,
not
they'll
even that.
Well, like, contrast that with Marjorie Taylor Greene,
right?
They're probably going to get more kind of like outrage, pearl clutching content out of Cori Bush, like saying good progressive policies, than they will, like, I guess they're going to try to condemn Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? But I don't know how they're going to be able to do it. Like, she's like a little bit more extreme than the other right wingers, but she's not like too out of step from like the mainstream of the Republican Party, and they so far have not condemned her. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if she's actually going to be like doing crazy Q shit in Congress though, right? Like, Cori Bush will probably make calls for defunding the police.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how long much.
That's who she. But I mean, she's respecting the people that she's representing. And and to that point, if this is what her community is calling for, it's on her to represent that.
Exactly. Yeah. But like, I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene would say that her community wants her to investigate the secret pedophile ring.
Right. I mean, she has to go and get to the bottom of all.
That's representing the voters of North Georgia. She has to go find the mole children.
I mean, that's why. If that is why they voted for her, then I mean, it's incumbent upon her to go ahead and address their very valid concern.
Like, she made that ad didn't she make that ad where she was like shooting at Ilhan Omar and like,
yeah,
and then she's in the same body as her, like that can't fly. You can't do that, right? Like, they're gonna have to fucking crack the whip on her at least somewhat,
I mean, you'd think so.
No, I mean, I can't picture like Kevin McCarthy, condemning her the way that like, other Democrats in leadership condemned Ilhan Omar for her, her when they tried to Corbyn her.
Right. So, but this was since you brought up Marjorie Taylor Greene, here she is, Marjorie Taylor Greene, due to BLM and Antifa terrorist violence. I thankfully had a police escort from the Trump Hotel to my lift. The streets of DC were a war zone, but I was left defenseless because of anti-gun Democrats who run this city. I will work every day to end every gun-free zone. And yeah, I mean,
so she's saying she was going to have her
this crazy ass cop ninja.
What is that cop's deal?
Yeah, when you told me before the show about this shit, I didn't think he really looked like I didn't think
Can
he was
you
gonna look
believe
like
that?
he looks like a fucking crazy cop ninja.
Oh, it's not a girl? I thought it was a girl.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, yeah, she looks like a crazy cop ninja. I can't tell. She's too mysterious.
Yeah, what's that fishnet thing she has on? Like, what is that?
It's armor, isn't it? Like
it's like hockey gear.
Shielding?
Like the fishnet thing
I'm
too.
not wearing hockey pads.
She is wearing hockey pants though. Look at them. What is that fishnet thing?
I don't know. Maybe
is it like tactical gear?
Where? Like on her legs?
So this is what the police. This is why we say defund the police. It's like this is showing it in one image, right?
Yeah, it looks like cosplay.
This woman, like this cop lady, is probably wearing like, I don't know, 20 grand worth of equipment, right? Like plus whatever she has in her squad car and all.
Yeah, check out that comment, bro.
All of that shit, like, is that really necessary? Like, you know.
Man, the comments on here are fucking epic though. Look at this. Look at this shit. Y'all realize that's just her sister in cosplay as a ninja killer cop. It's like she looks like if an incel was also a ninja.
Nice.
You have the villain from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles protecting
you. Is it really a cop though? I don't know.
I don't know.
It looks like it is, right?
What kind of cosplay nonsense is this? This bitch is just like a
ninja hockey player. That's the good one.
Here you go. You're lying again. It's clearly a ninja hockey player.
Yeah.
I just noticed the picture was Vanilla Ice singing "Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go." What's this about? Yeah, there you go.
The climax in Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah, Go Ninja, Go Ninja.
Yeah, remember that shit?
Yeah.
That shit was tight, dude.
Bro. I used to watch that shit up on replay. Oh,
so
wait, one more. There you go. Is that the? Is that a white Ninja Turtle, man? Twitter is undefeated.
Yeah, dude, they should have. You think they're gonna get into a screaming match?
Well, okay, so this one thing that you had, that's who you had on your prediction sheet, right?
She's gonna be the fucking president. She's gonna be the Republican nominee.
So you would say that she's gonna face off against who up on the left?
I don't know. I think
you mentioned Kamala.
You just take that as a given that she's gonna be the Republican nominee. She has to beat Trump.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't know, if cult of personality with Trump, I had a let me go to my reply here because I had it kind of.
He's gonna have loser energy by then.
Loser image. I don't know because they're gonna think that it was stolen from him more than he's just a straight up loser. You know, that's what I meant. Like, you know, you're talking about 4 years of this was stolen. You know, just boiling up to the surface.
Get old. It's already old, man.
For these people, I mean, if you felt like you were ripped off, I don't think it's old. I think it just festers.
Think about the Hillary people, though. Think about them. They had the same kind of.
Yeah,
they had the same kind of psycho cult thing for her, right?
Yeah, but then look what happened. They turned out in droves to vote for fucking Biden because they felt it was stolen, and they were fearmongered about Trump for years. So let me go to this shit that
they weren't like the neoliberal project was bigger than just Hillary Clinton. I keep saying like the Trump thing is like he doesn't really have any.
And then a lot of that K-Hive crap that you see online is because they felt for 40 years it was it was stolen from them too, and they're the most pissed off bunch of libs that you'll find out on social media. So, all right, so. This is it. This is what I put up to you, bro. Trump's support among GOP supporters is too much of a wild card to really rule out his return. A lot of them are going to be stuck in it was stolen mindset for the next 4 years, and whoever comes out of the woodwork is going to have to contend with that in a GOP primary. And with Kamala, it depends on what progressive challenger runs against her. Whoever it is has to have done a well enough job politically to make inroads with lib voters. Lefty voters have to be able to stay policy focused enough to rally behind that candidate. And see, a progressive beating Kamala depends so much on the grassroots effort behind them, but also learning from Bernie's mistakes this time around and doing better at fighting back against establishment fuckery. Whoever that candidate is, I don't know who she'll be. I really don't know who she'll be. Yeah, but yeah, like my point on there was largely, I think that you'll find somebody that could that could do a better job reaching across to some of those live voters that vote more on identity and yes queen shit than policy. I think you can peel off at least a fraction of those voters.
You're forgetting though, they have to beat Kamala.
Right.
The only way they would do that, the only way they would abandon Kamala, is if it just had been an epic failure of a presidency. Like they would have to have just
but that's why I
shat the bed left and right, all over the place.
But that's the other part of it though, is that you can, if you have an alternate person, a yes queen around, I think you can peel off at least a fraction of those people.
Yeah, but they would yes queen with the current VP, the current establishment.
Right, that's what I mean. I said a majority of them probably would, but I think there'd be a fraction of them that you could probably peel off by giving them an alternative. But
yeah, I mean the younger ones, like the same like we saw this time, like
and
the younger ones, but the Warren. Put it this way, like the Warren voters wouldn't leave Kamala,
but you don't think any fraction of the
shitty.
I think you probably could get some of those Warren voters because like you talked about. Remember you were working over there in Iowa. A lot of them just wanted Warren because she was a woman.
Yes, I mean some of them did, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
and you give them like an alternate woman that sounds a little bit more progressive.
Yeah, but I'm saying, why would they abandon the woman who's already in power? Like I said. The only way they would do that is if Kamala just sucked really bad.
But then, that's why a lot of people don't like Kamala. And they'll look for an alternate. But they'll look for an alternate. And who's to say that Warren doesn't run again? So Warren might be jumping into the mix of that shit too. But she might just be too politically. She has too much political cowardice to run against a sitting VP.
Yeah, I mean, if AOC ran, so I guess it would be like primary and Kamala kind of.
It's kind of a situation where you're primarying Kamala because you're assuming it depends. Like if Kamala's actually sitting president because of some unfortunate circumstances happen to Biden.
What's gonna happen.
If that's what happens, then I don't see anybody doing a primary.
So much.
Yeah, I don't see anybody doing a primary challenge to her under that scenario because at that point she would have been a sitting president. There's a difference between doing that and going into a VP that's taking up the mantle. And obviously I don't think it's that much of a jump to say that Biden might withhold an endorsement of his own VP if they are in a primary situation. But I think a lot of people that would have otherwise ran would be reluctant to go ahead and run against Kamala unless they were a progressive.
Yeah, it's like Hillary. They cleared the field.
They cleared the field for Hillary, and I think you would see the same kind of dynamic for Kamala. If
she did bad,
right? Even if she did okay, I still would think you would put. It would be like how Bernie wanted to run his campaign in 2016 against Hillary, where it was more of a thing to push the party left, and then it blew up into something that was actually viable. If we're in a scenario like that, then for me it depends more on how much the left sticks together behind an actual progressive candidate against Kamala.
I think you're nuts thinking that, man. Think of how small the left is, though. Like this is basically like the Tulsi people, right? Like these are the people that didn't stick with Bernie, right? Like those.
Well, I'm talking
that
about
percentage of Tulsi people.
No, I'm talking about the 30% that Bernie held on to this primary.
Yeah, no, they'll go with AOC. I wouldn't worry about them. I think the percentage you like seriously, I think it's as small as the Tulsi percent. I think it's that number of people.
I think a lot of them might get hung up on the lib shit, bro. I think a lot
That's
of them
nuts.
might.
So then they would, because, all right, so they were mad at AOC for being too much of a lib, so they decided to support Kamala Harris.
No, they decided just not to go ahead and put in the grassroots effort behind AOC that was needed to defeat Kamala.
Dude, she has more volunteers. She would have more volunteers than Bernie, I bet. Like, she, like, already has a zillion volunteers that help with their mutual aid thing and all. Like, she has a serious, like, her grassroots organizing is on point. Like, I wouldn't.
So like if
I think
that's
you're
right.
overestimating the anti-AOC sentiment out there.
Yeah,
like, I think you see
maybe,
dumb takes on Twitter.
Maybe
but like,
maybe I am. You know, I'll say that. Maybe I am. Maybe seeing dumb AOC shit about Mama Bear.
Pundit, like,
every fucking
I mean,
day.
every.
Maybe that is influencing why I would think that might be an issue. But if it's not an issue, then, and you can hold on to that 30% that Bernie has had. Even had in this primary, right? Then you venture to guess that you get that little bit of a demographic boost from more of Gen Z coming into the mix. I think you can peel off at least another 15% of those lib voters that might want an alternative, and then at that point,
you're talking about the Warren voters, basically.
Yeah, I mean those lib voters that want something more progressive, but
progressives,
but they want a woman, or they want somebody to yes queen around, and I think that number is probably small, but it's probably around like a 15% range.
Because like this, like the, I would say that like 35% is like Bernie people of the primary voters, right?
Right.
I think that's what we saw was pretty consistent, like a lot of places, and the 15%, 10 or so is probably like, that sort of like Warren kind of crowd, like maybe, Julian Castro or something, like, weird stuff like that. Maybe like the Beto stands. And then I think the other 50% is like those boomer, like K-Hive, Mayor Pete psychos, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see any way that 50% is going to abandon the sitting administration unless they're historically terrible, right?
That 15% I think will be okay looking for an alternative if they're gearing more towards those progressive policies. If they want that and they don't think that they think that they can get something better out of a progressive, I think they will peel off, and maybe that 15% might peel off and just go ahead and do that. And I mean, they might go against Kamala unless she's a sitting president. I think there's less of a chance for that. Like I said,
if they're a failure, like if the economy is, implodes and there's record unemployment and they don't do anything about it and people.
If we're stuck in gridlock and there's no stimulus or any kind of a real recovery, maybe.
So I'm saying that's the kind of situation I think we might be looking at, and in that situation, I do think a progressive could challenge, Kamala, but I mean, it's not like you want to root for that outcome.
No, of course you don't want to. But I don't think it's
I
don't think it's absolutely necessary for there to be like the disaster behind Kamala to peel off just that fraction of voters.
I just don't know if there's going to be like I said, it all depends on what happens, but I think it might be, 2028. I think if we're still around by then, before the progressives can take the White House. I don't know if they'll be able to take it in this time around, just because she'll have the advantage of being the sitting president. And we saw how nervous these people are, right? Like they backed Joe fucking Biden because they were scared of having a progressive. Like, not even that they backed Warren instead, because like nobody ended up voting for her. Like they went with Joe Biden, who was like,
with Joe Biden, there's
antithesis of all that like woke id poll shit they had been pushing since Hillary. The whole 4 years, the establishment people were all on about like that fake intersectionality, like language, like Me Too and all that had been the whole focal point of the party for that whole Trump presidency, right? A big part of it. And then they just threw it out the window because they were scared of Trump and went with Joe Biden. They didn't go with any of the women or like the people of color or, the socialists. They went with Joe crime bill fucking Biden, segregationist Biden. Like,
right, but
they're a bunch of pussies.
a lot of that,
Like,
I mean, a lot of that was, come on, I mean, a lot of that had to do with Obama nostalgia too. Do you think that Kamala will have that working for her too?
No, like I said, she's going to lose to the Republican most likely.
Right.
Like,
and see,
but like I said, the Obama nostalgia people are in that 50% who are going to stay with the establishment unless we're in World War III or whatever.
I don't think that base would hold together completely. I mean, and we're talking about maybe just a cut. Like
these
15%.
are the suburban. These are the Raytheon Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
These are the suburban people. The people who think George Bush was pretty nice.
And without having that orange man bad thing to really rail against, I don't think it's as effective. I don't think that all that fear mongering will be as effective, even if it's him coming back and trying to win again. I don't think that you're gonna be able to go and scare up the base like they were able to do this time. But
no, I mean, they won't be as scared, but at the same time they won't.
And that's what killed a lot of these areas for Bernie.
They don't
was
have
the older boomers that turned out and killed the momentum going. I mean, and really, if anything, you probably drain this back down to South Carolina again in 4 years, unless there's massive reforms to how they do the primary. It's gonna end up being a thing where, all right. Maybe like best case scenario, say AOC rolls into Iowa, wins, rolls into New Hampshire, wins, goes into Nevada, wins again, and then we're end up in the same scenario. We're going into South Carolina, and you got to figure out a way to jump that establishment wall when Jim Clyburn is going to
establishment wall, right? That'll be the establishment. These are that's a huge chunk of the state is these kind of voters, right? The ones you have to win over.
Right.
Like, even if you successfully win over the the Warren and Pete people and all that, I mean, I don't know. You can do it. She's great. She's got she's fiery.
Mm-hmm.
She's good speaker. She's good at connecting with people, and I think she's going to do good work in the upcoming in the 4 years in between.
But I got to do my anti-cop story for you, bro, every time, and and this time I got to intersect this shit with our obligatory AOC moment. So
I wanted to talk about the Republican primary in 4 years. You're the one I wanted to talk about the Democratic one. I want to know what the Chuds are going to do. Okay,
well, I mean, really, with the Chuds and everything, look, I don't see any of these guys, sort of like a Q people or a Q person, being able to beat Trump if he decides to run again. And I think you'll see a bigger chunk of people like Matt Gaetz already opening the door and bowing down to Trump as soon as he makes his return and talking about, we will get this one back because they stole it last time and bullshit like that.
Matt Gaetz doesn't think Trump's going to run. I think Matt Gaetz is doing that because he wants to run. So he's going to pretend that he's backing Trump to run, but really what he's doing is...
Is he going to roll out with Tiffany on the campaign trail, bro?
I mean, probably, right?
No, imagine that scenario where you have Trump actually still running, and then...
Yeah, I think the Republican will win. I think it'll be Kamala, and they'll win, man.
Regardless if it's Trump or if it's Greene over there?
Yes, I think whoever it is...
Rolling out with her ninja cop...
Yeah, I think the Democrats going to suck. I think this administration is going to be terrible.
No, I'm sure it is. I have no doubt about that part of it. But no,
I think.
Like if we're rolling up with Kamala and if that's kind of what we're going to accept as the default, and I don't think Joe Biden would be able to beat Trump again.
No.
And so
if let alone campaign,
let alone if it's Kamala coming through, who's less popular less well liked
Yeah,
than
she's
Joe.
not liked.
No.
Nobody liked her in
No.
the primary. It's just such a dumb fucking establishment thing to do, is to shove this administration down our throats. And nobody wanted him, and they knew nobody wanted him, and the only reason they could get these sickos to pick them was because they were terrified of Trump. And then have them set up in a situation where we're going to have Kamala be the default nominee in 4 years, when she's demonstrably not well liked among any segment of the base, right? Like,
Well, do you think black voters are going to turn out for Kamala the way that they did for Joe Biden?
No.
So why can't a progressive come through and steal that shit? Be like, you didn't have that southern wall behind you.
They can. They can, but like I said, it all depends on how the administration governs.
Yeah.
They would have, I think that'll be a situation where people are suffering and they're not doing anything. I think it'll be a situation where they're not responding to anybody's needs, like the cultural elite or the donor class or the the working class base, right? I think they'll be failing both of those groups, and they'll be getting owned by the Republicans the whole time, and they won't have any kind of effective way to counter it other than the same kind of like empty, like kente cloth, like gestures that they've been doing, right? Like, they're not going to actually combat any of these problems.
Right.
So things are going to continue to get worse, like almost by definition, right? They're not going to actually fight the Republicans. So we're going to continue having more Republican policies, like more austerity, and people are going to blame it on the Democrats. Like, even if it's like shit that McConnell passes and like becomes law, it's going to be like the Democrats did that, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a dim prospects, dude. They have to, if for a do nothing Democrat government, it's dim prospects. Like, they can definitely become more progressive. Like if Joe Biden did even a handful of the things on his platform that he said he wanted to do, I think you could have a different story. But if not, I think, you could see a situation where they're ripe for a primary challenge.
Yeah.
So, or a contested primary,
Yeah, I mean, at least even if it was a run just like what Bernie intended, I think it's still beneficial.
You don't want her to run for Senate though? Like, I guess that they wouldn't be as wouldn't really have that much power in, a Republican dominated Senate, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of, I wanted to talk about the Georgia Senate races. Did you look at any of those guys?
Yeah.
Warnock or Ossoff?
Yeah. One of them I caught was an anti-Medicare for all guy, and like the entire gridlock is dependent on a candidate like that.
Yeah, they're both so terrible, and Warnock I don't think is that bad. I think Bernie endorsed Warnock, right? I think he used to be better, but he's doing what what Democrats do, right? They get scared of the right-wing talking points, and then they back up. So he I saw some piece where he had given on the on Brianna and Virgil's podcast this week on Bad Faith. They had they were talking about him, and he had done like a fiery speech, pro-Palestine speech, and then they accused him of being racist or anti-Semitic. So he did some incredibly pathetic apology, saying I disagree with BDS and its anti-Semitic underpinnings. It was just super cringe. Not that I think that's an issue, that's not the kind that's not going to swing the election in Georgia. It's just a scumbag Republican, thing to do, just to try to they did with Corbyn, right? They just put so much shit out there that it just stuck in people's heads. They were just so over the top with it, and that's what they're trying to do. So it's the fucking Kelly Loeffler, especially Warnock's opponent. She's the one who got insider trading in the pandemic. There's no way in hell she should be able to beat any Democrat, any candidate, right? She should have been fucking impeached or, resigned or whatever.
Right.
And then they're gonna have to,
they're going against her, and that's the kind of campaign she's running. Is you're anti-Semitic because you once said something that was like pro-Palestine. She's the one who did that commercial about like I'm more conservative than Genghis Khan.
Oh, dude.
Right? She sucks, man.
I think
she was
that,
appointed too. Is the other
right.
thing. She's like Martha McSally. Like she
Mm-hmm.
didn't win the spot. She was just given the spot by the governor.
Well, do you think what I kind of think is going to affect things a lot, and people aren't really talking about, is just the how the election shaped out, and how all the talk about one thing or another when it comes to voter fraud and recounts and all that other kind of shit. I think people are actually going to pay attention to that, and the outcome of the election of the presidential election, and all the talk about what do you call it, Mitch McConnell and Senate holdups and them putting 4 years of blocks in front of them. I think that actually is going to have an influence on how people turn out in Georgia too. So,
but like, do you think they'll be able to effectively message that though? Because they've never been able to do that before. Let's watch some of these Warnock clips.
All right.
I just sent you a couple of them.
All right.
I don't think they'll be able to do that. I don't think they'll be able to effectively pin it on the Republicans, even if they were so inclined. Mm-hmm. They're not. They are not good at that, right?
No,
like
but I'm thinking that you might.
In the pandemic,
no, I'm saying like on the opposite end too. You're gonna end up with a bunch of people that would be like, "Oh, well, Biden won, so we have to put a GOP Senate for sure, just to make sure he doesn't."
That's how people voted.
Yeah,
we saw that.
Right,
down ballot races, they all said Biden was going to have coattails, and he had the opposite of coattails because the messaging was all Republicans are good, Trump is bad.
And
so
with how things shaped, right? So I mean, with how things shaped out, I think you're going to see a little bit more of that going into it. So I'm not really sure how you could flip that around, because right now I'm favoring the GOP to take both of those seats.
Yeah, I think both. I mean, I think they might. I think Warnock might win just because they said about Loeffler, right? But I don't know how Ossoff's going to win because he's a fucking slug, man. He's not a good candidate. Like, like I was looking at his clip. I watched his clip last night, and I think it must have been the first time I like sat and watched him speak, and I just couldn't stop laughing about how terrible he was.
All right, so
just like this is the guy, the fucking the Joe Biden platform depends on this guy winning, this fucking slug.
So let's go to Raphael Warnock.
I'll tell you what's on the ballot. Healthcare is on the ballot. Access to affordable healthcare. We've got 500,000 Georgians in the Medicaid gap. We've got 1.8 million Georgians with pre-existing conditions. And if Kelly Loeffler has her way, people who have asthma, people who have hypertension, diabetes, these are folks in my family and in my church, folks who are survivors of cancer, may find themselves without health care. And that's what this race is about, and that's what I will continue to lift up even as I move across the great state of Georgia. People are responding to that message, and that's why we are in such a strong position. I'll tell you what's on the ballot.
So, all right, so that's one that you got me.
He sounds fucking terrible too, man.
Yeah.
I thought he was like, fiery when I heard him give that pro-Palestine speech, but he sounds fucking cocked there.
Yeah.
Like I said, Loeffler is terrible. Like, she didn't win her race before.
She was
appointed. I've seen good polling for Warnock. Like, I think Warnock did better in the initial race too. Like, I think Warnock might win. But I don't understand who would go to vote for Warnock and then not vote.
Because it's not even going to be so much about the candidates anymore. Everything's just dependent on control of the Senate, and that's what I think is going to influence the race. But let's see.
And so I'm focused on the people that I'm running into all across our state who are wondering who is going to give them some relief from COVID-19. They haven't seen any in months, and small businesses are closing. And my commitment to our free enterprise system will be demonstrated by my commitment to small businesses.
All right.
And so I'm focused on...
The lady did insider trading. First of all, she's one of the richest in Congress. I think her husband is the CEO of the New York Stock Exchange.
Okay.
I didn't know that was a job, but apparently it is. Like,
that's what I was like. Okay, he owns the stock market. It's like saying you own the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Like her husband owns the stock market. I think I saw their net worth was like 600 million or something like that. They're like almost billionaires. Like they're really fucking rich and they suck really bad. And like this woman should not be in Congress.
Yeah.
Should not be in the Senate.
So
I don't know.
like I said though, I think this race isn't so much about the individual candidates anymore. I think everybody's gonna be racing, or everybody's gonna be voting based on who do they want to see in control of the Senate. That's why.
So then exactly, but the Republicans can win one and lose one and still have control. So I
Right.
think
So
people
that's
will
why
vote
I don't think
for
there's
Warnock.
I don't think there's gonna be any kind of. I don't really see too much of a, like how you saw some people vote for Joe Biden and some people vote for the Republican down ticket. I don't think you're gonna see a situation like that. I think you're gonna see both people just vote for both of these Democrats or both these Republicans, because that's all the race comes down to at this point. So
Let's listen to Ossoff.
oh,
I'll send
okay.
him to you. Is he? I don't know if he's speeching. Oh, he's just waving. Never mind. Hold on.
Okay.
Find a better one. He's fucking terrible though, man. Like he's. Is this his ad? No, it's just him posing with the puppy.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the one I watched last night. Yeah, dude, look at this guy.
All right.
He's fucking terrible. Oh, man. Yeah, man, Killer Mike was on
We
the
have
show
to
this
come
week.
together
He was
to
on their
overcome
show.
this. Even before this pandemic, people who were suffering, 1 in 3 children
to
in
stay
rural
positive,
Georgia
but
living
you
in
can tell he
poverty,
knows that Ossoff's
9
a
rural
slug.
hospitals closing in 10 years, a state government that refused to expand Medicaid and make sure that everybody can afford health care, a lack of access to dignified work that pays a living wage. We can solve all these problems. We can make equal justice under the law regardless of race and regardless of class a reality in America. We can defend voting rights for all people in America. We have good work to do. I'm excited to do it with you. Are y'all excited to do it with me? We should, if y'all are wondering what is that we've been feeling these last few days, it's hope.
Oh God, no.
He's so cringe, dog. Like, he's saying good things, you know, like his messaging was okay, but like, he's not charismatic, man. Like, he doesn't have it. He's so like.
Yeah,
You know,
like I
said,
said,
slug I think is a
I'm
good
telling-
definition. Good
Yeah, like I'm
description.
telling you, bro. Like it's just gonna come down to people going in there and saying, "All right, do we want the Democrats in charge of the Senate, or do we want to see
You
the
say they
Republicans?"
both lose?
Yeah, look, either they're both gonna win or they're both gonna lose. There's no in the middle. I don't think it's a one-on-one.
I think Ossoff's gonna lose.
I don't.
Warnock's gonna
That's
win.
what I'm saying. I would think that if it wasn't just the entire race being about control of the Senate, and that's what I think everybody's gonna go in and decide. But like, all right,
Yeah, I know. Like I said, they only need one Republican win though.
yeah, exactly.
But I think people will punish Loeffler. I'm gonna be optimistic here. They're like, because we saw the Republicans punished Doug Jones in Alabama, right? They didn't vote for him like when he did something terrible. This is at least as bad as that, right? Like insider trading in a pandemic, and then you fucking downplayed it for everybody else while you made money off all these fucking like internet stocks.
Yeah,
That's fucking evil, man. Come on, like I can't think of things that are much worse than that in terms of like a breaking of trust between your responsibility as a public servant and your responsibility to the people. Like that's just, but you're our representative in Congress, so you can personally enrich yourself while you like send us to the to the death death for the stonks. No fucking way, lady.
All right. Do you want to go to that cop thing I told you about?
I mean, it is kind of late. What cop thing?
They were going after AOC on Fox Business for the defund the police thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
All right. Let's check this out because I actually pull up some stats and stuff that we can go through.
Oh. Well, hold on. I have to pee. One sec. All right.
You're good.
Man, I have to pee really bad. Sorry. We can talk about AOC for a minute while I'm gone. I'm sure you'll be able to.
Hold on. All right. Okay, and we're back.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, like, where was I? Oh, yeah. So the AOC took some shots from a few of the people over there on Fox these last couple of days over the defund the police thing. And she triggered one of the cops, bro. Like, she really triggered one.
Nice.
So I figured you'd like this. Let's go to it.
There is a fallout for the Democratic Party, and this might come up in that transition goal between the uber progressives, whatever you want to call them, the Alexander Ocasio-Cortezes, the Bernie Sanders, and the more mainstream types, maybe with the Joe Manchins of West Virginia, I'm thinking. And this issue that talking to funding the police and all that stuff during the campaign, whatever its impact, it might have cost them some House seats. They lost about a half a dozen, still maintain control of the House, but did they push it too far, and is that why they also failed, at least at this time, to capture the Senate? Let's get the read from David Lee Miller, who's following all this back and forth. David Lee.
Hi, Neil. Well, New York area Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez took part in a virtual town hall yesterday, and she repeated her call for defunding of the police. Ocasio-Cortez is not backing down from that position, despite criticism from some moderate Democrats that her more extreme views cost Democrats seats during the upcoming election. Earlier this week, as you mentioned, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia said his party rejects, in his words, quote, some crazy socialist agenda, adding, we do not believe in defunding the police. Ocasio-Cortez says police resources must be reallocated, adding that
it's like the opposite.
This is not only her view, but what she's hearing from her own constituents.
Far too many people who have been killed due to police violence. And when my community is coming out and saying and demanding this, it's my job to listen.
The head of a New York City police union responded to Ocasio-Cortez's remarks, saying in a statement, and I quote, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez lives in a world of raindrops and lollipops. Her antics of defending the police and accusations of too many people being killed by police is misleading.
Oh, really?
Males of color continue to be shot by other males of color.
Oh, really?
This is occurring in the very same communities
so what, over-policing doesn't work?
Here in New York City, violent crime continues to spike. Year-to-date homicides are up 37%. The number of shootings compared to a year ago is nearly doubled. The city, meanwhile,
so more cops isn't
now
working.
slashed the NYPD's budget by roughly $1 billion.
Okay, so they said that they slashed the budget by $1 billion.
It's worth keeping in mind that she has
next year.
no authority.
Next year's budget.
So yeah, let's go to that because I do got some numbers behind me for that. And so like you mentioned, Matt, yeah, that budget for that $1 billion cut doesn't go into effect until next year. So first of all, trying to tie that $1 billion cut and juxtaposing it to black on black crime and this mass to a bunch of shooting is
He went there.
Yeah, he really did go there. And but to try to tie that to and then say that there's no problem unique to the U.S. about police violence. All right, so those are the two charges. So first of all, on that first one, it's kind of shot down already with what we just said. That budget doesn't kick in until next year. And the other part of it, I mean, it's kind of the ultimate self-own when you have one of the largest city police budgets already in place in NYC. And
dude, they have offices in European cities to hunt for terrorists. It's insane, their fucking budgetary setup.
Yeah, but I mean, what they're saying right there is a complete rejection of what of the policies that they've already had implemented. If they're trying to say, oh, there's all this violence, and their budget is already where the fuck it is, that kind of says that your shit isn't working.
Yeah, it's never like that's never the conversation though, right? Like they're just gonna take the cops' framing and run with that.
Right.
And of course, Fox News is, but like that's kind of the framing we have on the liberal media too, right?
Yeah,
like,
because they're falling in with Joe Manchin and Jim Clyburn. But check this out. There we go. So was the NYPD budget cut by $1 billion? So the size of the New York City Police Department's budget was a prominent focus of this year's budget negotiation, with many activists and elected officials calling for a $1 billion cut in funding. So the projected budget is expected to decline by $282 million from $10.5 billion to $10.2 billion between fiscal years 2020 and 2021. So the operation budget will decrease by $345 million or 6.6%. So the cut is larger, $474 million, which is measured against the executive budget for fiscal year 2021. The recurring reduction for operation budget is $82 million annually, paid from reductions in hiring. So
an unrealistic. So it's not really going to be cut then.
So look at this. This is the graph that shows how much of the budget is actually getting cut. So let me move this out the way so you can see what we're talking about here. Let's go up here. And let's shrink us a little bit. There we go.
Operating budget.
There you go.
Central expenses.
As of 2020, you're looking at 10.5 down to, and then up to 10.6 for 2021 in executive budget, down to the adopted budget of 10.2. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, like wasn't it just like cuts to like proposed increases though?
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, okay. Like, yeah, I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna be fine with $10.2 billion.
Yeah.
You know,
especially
these
because the
cuts that they're bitching about, they're not even really cuts. It's just cuts to proposed increases.
I mean, especially because there's going to be cuts to all the city budgets next year because they didn't get any federal funding.
Right?
Like they've had to shoulder the coronavirus expenses on their own, and the workers are gonna bear the brunt of that. Like the pensioners and the other people, they're gonna cut probably everyone else's overtime, but not the cops. No. They're gonna be fine. Right.
Now, the other part of what they said is that they're trying to make the case that police are no more violent here. There's not a unique problem in the U.S. In relation to police violence compared to other countries, right? That's the other cases they're trying to make. So this is a per capita graph of police killing civilians across the world. There we go. Let's look at that for a second. So This is a per capita graph. So per 10 million in the population, you have United States up there, 33 people per every 10 million that are killed. Yeah. Compared to Canada, down to 9.8, and it's not even fucking close. It's a joke to try to say that there's not a unique problem with police violence here. We killed 33 civilians per 10 million. And then here are actually like the raw numbers in the most recent year. Check that out.
Whoa. Look at that shit.
That's 1,099 police killings in the U.S.
Yeah, other countries don't kill people.
The next closest country is Canada at 36. Not 36, not 360, 36 individual killings compared to 1,099, bro.
It's absolutely insane.
And you see these fucking cops out there getting triggered by AOC actually making the case of what you said with Cori Bush, listening to what her constituents are saying and calling for when there's a unique problem that is actually affecting people. And you see that on the streets, and you see that with the people that are marching.
Yeah.
And
the NYPD's been like so recalcitrant, they have been so just the more people call attention to their crimes and their dereliction of duty and their just reckless policing, the more reactionary they get, the more aggressively fascist they come out with.
Right.
Like the behavior they've seen this year, running over the protesters on camera, right? Doxing the mayor's kids and telling everybody that she was in custody, basically kidnapping her,
right.
It just killing civilians, all of the just the senseless beatings they've done on camera, just completely in the open. Yes. And when people say, hey, that's kind of fucked up, you did that.
Yeah.
They point the finger and they call you crybaby liberal socialist or something, right?
They tell you live in a world of lollipops and rainbows, this fucking.
That's been their response. You see the kind of stuff that they tweet about their mayor and all,
right?
And it's he's so cucked by them, and he's still, they just own him.
Who was that dude that it was the head of the police union, right? That you're talking about, where he came out crying about when they first came out to defund the police movement.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah,
he gave that impassioned speech on the steps. I think it was the of the Union building.
That was what it was. How did he do it? It was it still got a shine on it.
This badge ain't tarnished by something this guy did in Minneapolis. Still got a shine on it. Let's see if we can find it.
While you're finding that, let me pull up the what they're talking about with the AOC town hall. Let's see.
Here it is,
Next
June 9th.
I'm in your district in East Elmhurst, and I have a general question about the House. And why did we lose so many seats? And what needs to be done to get them back next term?
So, of course, the loss of the House majority is just extraordinarily upsetting to all of us. It's upsetting to all of us who are invested in having a Democratic majority so that we can expand healthcare, so that we can raise wages, so that we can protect working people. And it's also personally very difficult because to lose these people, many of them are my colleagues, and I'm proud to call many of them my friends. And the idea that they may not be returning next term is or that they aren't returning
Pay
next
attention,
term
Libs. She
is
cares.
extremely difficult on both just a personal and a policy and a political level. Why did we lose these seats? It's very early to tell. And I don't think that there's any one reason why any person loses an election. I usually tend to think that it's compounding reasons, unless of course that member, if there's some scandal or revelation. But usually it's not any one reason why a given candidate loses an election. And so I can't say this is why or that is why. But I at least think that we can point to some contributing factors. And again, we won't know for sure until we have a lot more data in, until the results are not only certified but studied. And you know, many of those results are in the process of certification, but they have not been studied. And so all of that is just a disclaimer to say that this is not the end all or be all. But I have some thoughts that I've shared over the last week to consternation. But listen, the fact of the matter is, if we don't get better, we're not going to get better. And getting better requires honest and blunt assessment. If we're not honest with ourselves about our failings, then how can we correct them? And so, you know, in my opinion, there are very tangible ways in which the Democratic Party can be better. And I think a lot of that has to do with our organizing. And I believe, frankly, that our community is a model for the country. And people may roll their eyes and they may say, oh, those are just a bunch of liberals in a deep blue district. They have nothing to offer anybody else. But I disagree. First of all, I think that there's a deep misunderstanding of our community and our district. Prior to my election, many people from you know, previous representation, many people would have thought that our district was highly moderate, and that it was much more conservative than what it actually was, based on how you know, previous administrations and previous seats had. But our community is a community of organizers, and it's not like this granola hippie college town. As you all know, we don't have a college in our district. And I think perhaps because of my age, people think that I represent, I don't know, a college town or UC Berkeley or something. But we know that Queens and the Bronx are intensely working class, hardworking, diverse communities. And a lot of the work that has to be done has to be on championing our policy and having a clear message and not running away from who we are and what we believe in. And every member in every district is very different. Even, you know, people also lose different races for different reasons. But I do think that we can be much, much better in our messaging, in our mechanisms, in who we invest in, and really looking at how we even run these campaigns. Because as many of you know, there are some campaigns that are excellently executed and other campaigns that aren't. And I think we have a lot of room for growth there.
So, all right, bro. So, I mean, what do you make of her response there, bro, about why the Dems didn't do better?
What do you mean? It's she could have gone harder. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think about I thought exactly the same kind of thing. Is, you know, she's giving more of those even keel responses there instead of just going out there and saying what total fuck ups a lot of these Dems are and why they actually lost is because they don't stand for anything. I mean, when it comes to that sort of shit, I mean, the centrists are they're very quick to go ahead and punch left and say this is the reason why we're doing bad. It's defund the police. It's a Green New Deal. It's Medicare for all and all that kind of shit. But at the same time, they don't go ahead and look at the shortcomings of how the way they run their fucking campaigns. You know what I mean? I mean, where would you place the blame on why the Dems did worse this time around in the terms of the House? Why did they lose seats?
Like you just said, because they were running, you know, GOP-like candidates. They ran towards the center. They ran to this non-existent block of voters that they've theorized and dreamed about having because of these crackhead consultants who are just not good at what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's more about like employing these scumbags to do these TV grifts, and like it just tack towards the center because it's more profitable to the establishment to, both cater to these people's the non-existent policy concerns, and and just continue this messaging that's all about blanket nothingness, right? It's all just platitudes and vagueness, and
you're not standing
not
for shit.
appealing. And it's like, you can maybe do that against Trump when you have a candidate who's just universally reviled by everybody, who fancies themselves liberals. It's like, or he's terrible, but like, that doesn't work against just standard Republicans who have better messaging, right? Like, they have better campaign speeches. They actually try to win, right? The Democrats' campaigns are all about just
trying not to upset the Republicans too.
Yeah, it's all about just like cowing in fear and like just paying for this same kind of, like all that money. It's like such a grift. All the fundraising, it goes right back into these same consultant firms, the same half a dozen different agencies who just take the money and provide TV ads that are just a series of images about like, oh, we'll protect the ACA and all. That's not compelling to voters.
No, and it's not representative of the working class. It's
not
not.
That it has to be, but it has to be
but
representative.
that's the way
of somebody.
you turn out, right? And that's the way you. I mean, for us, maybe just from my assessment, that's the way you turn out voters and can win elections. If you turn out working class voters, you have to offer something in order to do that.
I think everybody would respond to the right message, though. It's not that you don't alienate the suburban voters with the right message for the working class voters.
Yeah.
Right? But the suburban voting message alienates the working class voters. It's just dumb on a strategy level. It's dumb on a policy level. And it's just like tactically. It's like you have this one group of voters who vote either because they're party loyalists, or because they're appalled by the Republicans, or they want to protect the status quo somehow, or whatever.
And but the other thing that she threw in there, and I didn't really think about until she mentioned it, was the way they try to characterize her districts before she took it over and then after, where the thing they'd like to say against these against progressives running in blue districts versus these incumbents, these longtime entrenched incumbents, is that at the time when they're getting primaried, they'll say, no, the district is moderate. That's why they keep electing us. We keep winning because we're right in the middle. We're appeasing the center, and that's why we keep holding on to these strong blue districts. But then afterwards, then the perception of those districts, Ilhan Omar's, all the squad, it'll probably happen with Cori Bush at some point too. Then suddenly the perception of those districts is, it's because they're far left radical districts. They're a bunch of they're like what you said. They're a bunch of college towns that like younger congresswomen that go ahead and talk to working class issues or listen to activists and run behind activist messaging. That's the nature of the district. It was never moderate, even though beforehand that's exactly what they were saying.
I mean, the score. It's all, it's all ragged, man. It's all contrived to, I think part of it is, Pelosi, like her iron grip on the nature, on the character of the party, on the top-down messaging of everything.
Right.
Like, that's her ideology, so she wants to recreate that as much as possible in the other Congress people, right?
If there's any
she puts her thumb on the scale for that.
If I was going to point to any districts that are probably just more left-leaning in general, I would probably go look up in Oregon and see what's going on up there, because they're passing a lot of extremely progressive or lefty ballot measures and electing DSA people, all that kind of stuff. But even then, it's hard to make an assessment as to how left or right a certain district leans.
Well, the suburbs, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's tough because, like, a lot of these new, like, a lot of the districts they flipped in 2018 were those suburban districts,
right,
that had college-educated white people in them,
right,
and like I mean, my theory is that you could have the right messaging that would appeal to all of them, that would appeal to the working class voters and the college age voters. But I think, like, a lot of the evidence they saw was that they're flipping these suburban districts, so they want to give them these, kind of Republican light platforms, and it's like,
do you think?
I mean, I don't know. They say, like, I don't know. They point to Kara Eastman, like, she lost in Omaha, but it's like it doesn't prove to have, like, one progressive challenger fail to win in a previously red district. I don't think it proves that was an unwinnable thing, or like that the district was a certain way. Like, I just think better campaigns can win in any district, basically.
Do you think there's anything to the fear mongering that they try to do, that if you're in a heavy blue district and you put a leftist in there, that you risk giving up that district?
No, I think in a blue district, a left candidate, is best. There's no rationale to not have a left-wing candidate in a deep blue district. Yeah. If that's like Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? They got that candidate because it's a deep red district,
and
right?
there's no risk about running more Republican. Yeah, exactly. But Laura Ingraham had a response to that, and here it is. AOC is really struggling to explain the House races. The truth, of course, is that she doesn't speak to working class people. We do.
Yeah. Okay.
This is from the same lady that went ahead and chastised her for having a job as a bartender. I mean, there's so much elitist prickism in right-wing circles, just as much as there is in so-called left-wing circles in terms of mainstream media. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think, is the reason why the right even has any kind of claim to that is because they're such fuck-ups,
right?
Right? Like, they're obvious goofs, right? They're obvious, obvious, like, boneheads. They're constantly saying dumb guy shit, and it's like, they don't put on airs. It's like they appear, even if they're saying elitist shit, they still appear like common to most people because they are dumb,
right?
Or they put on that, they play that role pretty well, right? Like, they play that role of, like, idiot kid down the street. So, like, I think that's what it comes across as, even if the Democrats' messaging is, like, less explicitly elitist, right? Like, they have more sort of, like, pandering to working class ideas. They still come across as just wholly unsympathetic and full of shit. Right? They don't come across as
genuine at all.
Genuinely concerned about anybody's well-being except their own, and, like, maybe like a handful of their donors.
All right, I had one last thing I wanted to go over since we have been talking about the COVID situation here in my city of El Paso. There was this thing that kept popping up on my timeline. It made me horribly depressed, so it's a good way to end the show. Anyway, so here in El Paso, Texas, we're so understaffed that we're now using inmates to help use deceased COVID patients on the mobile flow overflow morgues. This got sent to me a couple of times. So, we're using prison labor to help move the bodies just because there's so many and we're so understaffed.
Oh, that's cool.
So, had a video.
That's free market innovation, right?
So, let me go and pull up the video here. There we go.
Dude, did you see Adam Driver was on John Oliver and did some Star Wars shit?
You see this?
Wow. And they wear the fucking striped outfits?
Right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're apparently they got hired to do this at $2 an hour.
I think that's pretty good for a prison too. I think they get paid less than that usually.
Yeah, they do, but still, I mean, this is where we're at in the COVID situation here. I mean, the things are just deteriorated so badly. Yeah, we're talking about 10 mobile morgues, and
What do you mean? They always use prison labor though.
Yeah.
Like this is they're probably stoked. You know, like
yeah, man.
They don't have to pay like some expensive contractor. You know,
But I mean,
like
just to see all the bodies that are lined up in those mobile morgues now, it's just fucking heartbreaking as shit to go ahead and see. And no, but it's not really a surprise that they've resorted to prison labor at this point. I mean, when we talked to Johnny before on the podcast about what he experienced. I mean, of course, and they use prison labor to fight fires in California. So of course, during the pandemic, they were going to be using prison labor to go ahead and subsidize the. But
I don't know what they're going to do. Like, they're just not even going to try to combat it anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, do the best you can.
Yeah, we're kind of left to the whims of the state now with the whole lockdown challenges and all that rest of that shit, because what it looks like for the most part, I mean, the red states are going to red state, and they're going to sacrifice people at the mercy of the economy and stand behind that messaging. And, you know, even with Biden coming in, I don't know exactly what he'll be able to do at a federal level to go ahead and curb the individual state decisions. You know, because they'll call. I mean, they're gonna just continue to ignore the crisis until, I mean, with no real end to it. So,
and there could be like more like CDC involvement. They could do some sort of government contact tracing thing.
Yeah.
That should be the bare minimum. That should be the shit they should have had all year. I mean, maybe it's just like they need to get funding for it, right? Like, it's going to be incredibly hard to get anything. I mean, I don't know what they can do, you know, with the existing budget. Like, maybe they could, like, I don't know, what he should do is fucking take the military's budget and use it for that, right? That's what they should have done from the beginning, right? Is just turn the military into the COVID protection unit and use them, right? Like,
well, that would have been a good use of funds. But what did you send me? Oh, you sent me the still got a shine on it.
Watch that. Yeah, it's pretty late, man. We gotta go.
All right, yeah, all right. It's already time to probably sign off. But
we can watch this Adam Driver thing. I'll watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll watch that stuff tomorrow. We'll be back on. I'm not sure we'll be back on tomorrow. We'll take a day off, maybe sometime soon. But we appreciate y'all tuning in, joining us. If you're not following us, then make sure you do that. Subscribe, do all that good stuff. Look for us over on our Twitter account at unelectable. We've got a subreddit account now that we'll probably go ahead and link up in the description along with all the rest of our stuff that we got there. But all right, we're out.